Welcome back to another episode of Bulletproof Studios, and today we are excited to share this episode as we sat down with Chris Burns, aka Storyteller Chris, aka Savage Chris. He goes by many names. Now, Chris is a copywriter by trade, and probably I would say he's one of the goats in the space of copywriting and getting across the storytelling aspect. Now, there was lots to cover off with Chris, and we're probably going to have to do a part 2 and maybe even a part 3 on all the different strategies when it comes to copywriting. Now, when you think of words on paper and words on email, you think, how can that be such a sexy subject? But we managed to get into that today, but more importantly, share his story on how he got started and some of his favourite tips and strategies on copywriting as a whole. Before we jump into the episode, you can find Chris on the show notes below. We've linked out to his Instagram and how, if you're interested in working with him, if maybe your business is wanting to utilise the email strategy or copy strategy that he has, then check out his page. He does a lot of like free stuff as well, so I highly recommend giving him a follow. And if you're new around here and you're listening to this episode because you follow Chris and you like the interview and you want to hear him on a future episode, one of the best ways you can support us is completely free, and that is by leaving us a 5-star rating on Spotify or heading over to our YouTube and leaving a like, comment and sharing the video. So without further ado, we'll jump into today's episode. The first place where we'll probably start, because I think for those who maybe tune into this, this is like a new branch that we're sort of building. I've done the Mindset podcast for a long time, but I was like, we're doing marketing and all that sort of stuff. And in terms of like goats in the marketing space, definitely see you as the copywriting goat. I don't know if you would take that title yourself.
I don't know about that, but yeah, that's very kind of you.
The copywriting, I think, is such an interesting one because it was never something I knew much of or done much of in my own business. Jill done it in the corporate world from a corporate angle, but I never made the connection. I was like, well, this can be someone's own business journey as well, and that's what you then chose to do. Were you always interested in like writing and reading and all that from a young age, or was that more later in your life?
Definitely later in my life. Was never a big reader when I was younger. I don't think I read like a full book outside of school until I was 20, 21, something like that. And it was self-development I got, because the first book I read cover to cover was The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss, because I was like working in hospitality, didn't really know what dropped out of uni, had no clue what I wanted to do in my life. So, and that book was kind of like, I think it was a couple of years old at that time, but that was like kind of what opened my eyes to all these, because I only thought of, I need to get a job, I need to get a career, I need to work my way up the ladder, but I've not got a degree, I've not got this, what can I go into? So that was the first time I read anything. And then yet the writing side of things, I think I've always kind of been always been a bit of a like storyteller in some regard. Like, for example, again, when I was in hospitality, my first kind of project as a manager was redoing a cocktail menu, and I remember writing descriptions and absolutely loving it. And like, I never thought at the time, I can make a bit. Looking back now, I'm like, there was always a little seed there that I was like, I really enjoyed that, the creativity, the storytelling, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and then when I got into personal training, I started to get like kind of writing blogs and getting published to get clients, which is a terrible way to get clients, by the way, because nobody reads blogs.
It was funny listening to that. I was like, that's crazy. Like, everybody's head goes, right, I'll post content. And you went, I'm going to write articles. But I understand why, especially we grew up in very similar eras of T-Nation and bodybuilding.com. So it made sense that can be a powerful way to get status.
Yeah, that was more it. You're exactly right. I was influenced by the people that I got all my knowledge from reading these articles on different websites, and I thought, well, I'll do the same and then I'll put them out there. But you're just posting them into the void, and nobody's reading them. But it did give me a sense of achievement, though. Like, it did give me that, and I think looking back again, it was good for me, because it kind of planted that seed earlier to be like, right, do you know what? I think this is probably the road that you want to go down. And then the time when I realised, like, there's a lot of realizations about when coaching wasn't for me, but I think like it was actually, funny enough, Tim Ferriss talks about how he started his first company. He looked at his bank statement and what he spent all his money on, and he was spending most of his money on supplements, and that's how he started a supplement brand that he then sold. And I looked at what I was spending the most time and money on, and all the books I was buying, any course I was buying, and any spare time I had was spent on writing, copywriting, storytelling. It wasn't spent on anything to do with coaching. So I thought, well, it's pretty clear. My actions are speaking louder than my words here. So that's what was kind of tipped me towards, right, okay, this is where I'm going to go ultimately. And then that's what kind of started the journey towards kind of fumbling my way into the career full time, which I eventually managed to find my way there.
Ah, that's good. What do you think see if you could go back to your younger self and go like, see when you're older, like going back to that conversation in high school when you're doing your work experience week or whatever, and you're like, you're gonna make your business is going to be writing words for other people. Like, do you think that would have crossed paths?
No, man.
Did you even like English in school? Like, was that? Did you enjoy?
I mean, I think I got a B.
Yeah, so it wasn't really like.
Yeah, maybe. I think maybe. Yeah, so definitely not.
Yeah.
Wasn't remotely interested in anything like that. Again, even like the things that I didn't even pick up any kind of like fiction book. I've always been into, I've always been not interested, but fan of things like, I don't know, it sounds daft, but like, like Star Wars and things. I've always had an interest in kind of that kind of vibe, but that's the closest thing I would say I was interested in stories. So if you told me that, you're going to be like, writing words, you're going to be selling through stories, doing all this kind of strategy work with different brands and all, I'd just be like, you are smoking crack. Like, there's no way I'm doing that, I think, see, when I was younger, I would say what I wanted to do when I was older. But I would tell people what I thought they wanted to hear.
Yeah, it's like
that's
the impression side of things.
Yeah. So I always used to say, like, I want to be an architect. I was always quite artistic at school, but I was like, well, I don't want to be an artist because I know that doesn't make any money. So I'll tell people I want to be an architect. I'm absolutely honking at anything to do with physics and maths and anything like that, right? I mean, dreadful. And so it was just and I think at one point I said I did want to get into sports marketing. I think at one point.
Interesting.
Which
Almost,
was almost. Yeah. And the one subject I did enjoy in uni was marketing. So I done business at uni for about 10 seconds, showed up for a cup of coffee and left. But the one thing I was genuinely kind of like, oh, right, when I started hearing about marketing side of things, I was like, this is actually quite interesting. This is maybe something I'd like to do. But yeah, I mean, if you told me what I was doing, no chance.
That's
I would
funny.
never
It's funny
believe
you say about architecture, because that was something that I was like, yeah, I'll do that for a career. But I wasn't doing physics, and I think I was in foundation maths at the time, right, when I made this decision. So it wasn't even on that path. But I was like, yeah, it's probably a well-paid job, set for life, career, whatever. And we went to like an open day, and you went through like, if you go to uni and you want to pick this, or you want to pick this career path, here's how many years you spend in uni. Architecture was something like a 10-year.
7 years.
Aye, it's
7
like
years,
crazy, isn't it? And I remember hearing that, and I was like, yeah, I don't want to be in school for that
same
long.
length of time as a doctor.
Insane.
It's mental, isn't it?
Yeah.
I had the same experience at the open day.
Yeah.
I remember because I failed all my exams in 5th year. I was supposed to get A's and B's, and I did not. And then I remember going to the open day at the start of 6th year, kind of at Strathclyde, and I remember sitting there. And then the guy's like, yep, so getting this course, you're looking at like 3 A's and 2 B's. And I was like, see you later, mate.
It's not for me,
Okay, it's not for me. It's not for me.
I was still maintaining that illusion, like, yeah, I can still get into architecture. But yeah, I remember when you look at it, I was like, even being a 17-year-old boy, all 17-year-old boys are idiots. I had enough self-awareness then to be like, this is never, ever, ever going to be my path. So yeah, and then, like I said, eventually mainly through like finding out what I didn't want to do, and kind of, bumping up against a few things through life and through challenges and failures, then I kind of find, right, okay, this is the best path for me. Yeah.
What's quite interesting about your story is like you were like into rugby, kind of growing up. As much as we're all hotheads when you're young kids and whatever, you went down the path of like not getting roped into like the drinking and all that sort of stuff. So to me, it strikes me like you had a lot of like self-awareness and getting down this path of self-development. Where does that come from? Like why the choice of uni and why the choice to kind of do all these sorts of things?
Yeah, it's interesting. I've kind of probably been a bit more reflective of that since I've became a father, and figuring out like, well, why did I make those choices when I was younger? I do remember like looking back, and I think a lot of the time it was, I was looking around at people kind of getting drunk when they're, obviously over here you'd start drinking when some people start drinking when they're like 12. See, honestly, very quick aside, see now being a dad and thinking back to when I was in high school.
It terrifies you.
It terrifies you, doesn't it? And
We'll get into that question because I'm also becoming a girl dad as well.
Man,
didn't expect these thoughts to come in.
No, and I'm the oldest by quick, because my mum had me when she was 16, so I'm the oldest.
Oh, okay.
So I've got 2 brothers and 2 sisters, and like even when they hit that age of like 12, and I was like, girls in my year were getting steaming. Boys and girls were getting absolutely wrecked and rolling about the street when they were your age. I was like, I'm your brother. Have you ever done that? Like, so, yeah, that was interesting. But I think, to go back to your question, I think I always kind of looked around and seen people kind of losing control and I was like, I don't want to. I always liked having my wits about me and being aware of what was going on in any situation. And then I think the longer I went, because I didn't initially get into the drinking with my mates, the longer you go without it, the more reasons you have like not to do it. And whenever this comes up, I always make the point, like, I am not one of those like holier than thou teetotalers, because I've always been teetotal. If you want to drink alcohol, crack on, have at it. But I think then going into hospitality, and you start to see genuine like functional alcoholics, and it dawns on you slowly. Like the same guy comes in here every single day. He clearly does a good job, but he has 3 or 4 pints every single day I'm in here. That's not healthy. So, and then you start to see like even like certain people in my family that were like didn't have good relationships with alcohol. By no means like full-on alcoholics or drunks or anything like that. Like great people, love them to death, but I'm like, you're not got a good relationship with that substance. And see, if that substance was a Mars bar, you wouldn't eat Mars bars.
Yeah.
It's like a vice, isn't it? It's definitely something in our parents' generation. I feel like
For sure.
the I don't know, we've got the downfall of scrolling, and that's our maybe our vice.
Massively.
I think for them, like alcohol was the social aspect, and it wasn't not even like self-awareness like was much of a thing, or self-development.
It's a cultural thing, wasn't it? That's just what you did. You just went out to the pub with your mates, you got drunk, you started drinking underage, little bit of that kind of rebellious nature as well.
And we've got Huberman Lab and all that. They like tell us, oh right, I didn't realise that.
Morning routine, yeah.
Cigarettes as well, like that was like a thing.
I remember that everybody used to smoke. I know it's crazy how many people used to smoke. But again, I think it's interesting to compare it to like my brothers. So my brothers are in their early 20s now, and like comparing it to how it was so different for them growing up. There was a little bit of drink, but it was nothing compared to my generation. So I think as the generations go on,
changing, isn't it?
It's definitely changing. And I think like it was ultimately a great thing for me. I'm not even talking about like the health benefits or anything like that. It's just like I made a decision early on, like I'm not going to miss out on anything. So I went on all the boys' holidays, again, done rugby tours, done all of that. It just kind of brings you out your shell a little bit more. You don't have that social lubricant, to start conversation things. And also, it just means you do have a very different experience from your mates and stuff, You probably are the one that has to, get your mates out of a few situations. and
call it quits a wee bit earlier.
Yeah, and you always have those conversations the next day, your mate shuffles up to you and says, so see you last night, what did... What happened there? And I'll always made the point of, listen, I'll tell if you want to know, but see if you don't want to know, I'm not telling you, because I've not been that guy that's like, see you last night. Like,
your pals must have the fears like, he's went into storytelling. He's writing emails for companies and like all these emails. Like, it's my stories getting in there.
See, whenever they see, like, I've sent a couple of emails and done a couple of posts about our first boys' holiday, first night in Malia. Whenever that goes up, I know for a fact they're always like, and I'm like, there's never any names, any. It's all focused on me, boys. Don't worry. Yeah. Like, you're all dads with good jobs now. Don't worry. None of that's going to get out there.
I've got you.
Relax.
But just remember,
I've got the dirt on you.
No, that's good. So why uni then? Was that again just as part of like what parents done or what society at the time and all that sort of stuff? Like that's the natural order of go to uni, get a good job.
Yeah, I think that was it really, mate. I think it was just I was always kind of throughout school, got good reports, was kind of labelled as clever in school. You always get kids like that, like was labelled one of the clever, so like one of the people that should go to uni. And I think at the time, I can only remember it being like 2 paths being presented. Like you either left school to get a trade. Now I don't know if you remember this, but at the time when I was in like 4th year, this was when there was this like big boom of people leaving, and there was all these stories about plumbers earning $100,000 a year and all that. I don't know if that was ever true, right? But at that time it was everybody was like leave. There was people that could have easily went to uni that were choosing to go and do trades, and I think that was one of the first times that probably ever happened in such high numbers. And I remember thinking, I don't want to do that. I don't really want to go on trades. I don't have any desire to do that. I'll go to uni. And then failing my exams in 5th year, that was a huge moment. I was just like, holy shit, like what am I going to do next? And then managed to get in 6th year. But honestly, now, I was very, very lost. I would say I was very alone back then. Was awful at talking to people. And that's not unique to me. Most 17-year-old boys are like that, But I remember I got into Stirling Uni to do business, and I just used to get the train to Stirling and just walk around Stirling by myself. And I think looking back now, again, I'm going to say that a lot, looking back now, but like, I feel quite, if that was another boy at that age, I would feel so sorry for him, and I would just want to put my arm around him and be like, listen, kiddo, it's going to be all right, like, you're probably just not cut out for this, like, but I think the thought of going and getting a job or dropping out uni was like, that's another failure. I've already failed my exams, so I came close to like what I saw at the time as my world in, which is so silly. But I managed to get in. I'm doing the thing. I'm in uni. Like, this is what mum and dad wanted me to do. And by the way, there was never any pressure from my parents at all. My mum was the complete opposite, to be honest. My mum was just like, just why you be happy? If you want to go to uni, you can go to uni. My dad pushed me in a good way. It was never like pressure, like, you better get into uni. But he left school when he was 16 and went into the army. And then obviously I came along. That messes your life up quite a lot when you're 16, where I'm like, hi,
I'm here.
I'm here. That's a nice surprise. So I think he was just very keen on me having that experience and being set up for, like, because my dad has gone on to do very well for himself, but he had to kind of go the longer route to find his career. And I don't think naturally he didn't want the same for me. He wanted me to take the shorter route and get there and work my way up. So yeah, I think that, looking back, yeah, it just wasn't for me. I didn't really know how to deal with it. I just lied about going to uni for like a year. I couldn't face tell my parents that I dropped out of uni, so I used to pretend to go to uni. And then when I told them, they're just like, okay, it's really weird, you didn't tell us for a year. You kind of wasted your time there. I remember being like, oh, so this wasn't really as big
building
a
it up in your mind.
It wasn't as big a deal as I thought it was. And then just went full time in hospitality and kind of worked my way up to a kind of management position, and that's when I transferred to kind of doing coaching and stuff. But yeah, it was an interesting time looking back.
How much has hospitality played a part in your sort of developing you as an individual? So I feel like uni and all that sort of stuff can be a great experience, right or wrong, however it is you want to look at it. But I feel your 20s should be just about get into something. If you don't like it, pivot that path and sort of find out. I came into coaching 28.
Yeah, I think it was.
It's like 3 months before we were about to get married. I was like, I'm thinking about quitting my job and doing this because there's something within me that's just telling me I'm not on the right path. And I thought I was too old at that point, but I look back and I was like, and I was young then, and now I feel old now. And it's like, I think you're always going to do that, aren't you?
Yeah.
So for you, what do you feel like? Are you quite happy that's how that path, obviously you would never change anything?
No.
The path to hospitality then developing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was great for me because you just get to, one, you have to work hard, it's long hours and it's shite money, and which is a good experience for anybody to go through, I think. And yeah, I think like that was the first time in my life where I started to see some actual like progress. So like just in terms of like just getting promotions. I got promoted to head waiter and then supervisor and then manager. And then, was the first time where I took some initiative in terms of like, this sounds strange for a teetotaler. I was like, this cocktail menu shite, I'm doing it again from scratch. Yeah. And like launched that, and we were doing press for it and we were doing events and we were doing all these things. So I started to see that little bit of like positive feedback for being like, this was an idea I had. Because if you strip down the fundamentals, literally, I've got an idea for this. I'm going to create it just off my own back and put it out into the world. That is a lot of what I do now, is just in a different form. But if you strip out the fundamentals, it's the same thing. So yeah, but even just like, again, developing your skills like with other people, because the place I worked was kind of like a champagne and oyster bar. So it was a kind of what you would class as, in the Regano, a bit more of an upmarket place, but it welcomed all kinds of different people, and you were finding yourself in all kinds of situations. You're dealing with complaints, you're dealing with steaming drunk people, you're having to kick people out, you're having to manage situations, calm situations down. So it definitely taught me a lot of skills in that regard, in terms of like how to connect with people, but also how to give people like an exceptional experience as well, because we worked in, you would call it like an occasion. A lot of people came in for occasions in our place. It was a real kind of special place for a lot of people, and they'd be coming in for, it's the oldest restaurant in Glasgow, it's been there since 1935.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's been at 1935, original decor, like it had a lot of history, and heritage to it. So I think like upholding those standards and delivering an exceptional experience for people definitely transfers over to like even how I deal with like clients now, and how I input into their like customer journey, and try to find ways that you can just, again, there's that book that everybody talks about, I think, what's it called again? Is it Exceptional Hospitality or Unreasonable Hospitality or something like that? And I was listening to a podcast with the author, and he worked at 11 Madison Avenue, which is the restaurant in New York, which is the #1 restaurant in the world. And so much of what he says is what I was trying to do, like, and I'm not trying to compare myself to him in any way, but it's just like you overhear a guest say something, it's like, all right, okay,
Cool.
you like this, let's do this, let's try.
Yeah.
You know, you like a certain drink, and it might sound like very specific to her, but it's not. It's again, the principles apply across the
They're
board.
fundamental skills that
Yeah,
you're sort of
yeah.
piecing together.
Absolutely.
Would you think that, because so many people come into the hospitality sector and very few of them have that mentality of like taking full ownership and devoting themselves towards the role that they're doing. It's more, this is a paycheck, easy job, it's a stepping stone to while I'm at uni or while I'm doing these other ventures. Very, very few people see it as, right, I'm gonna pour out all my I don't know what the word is, like devotion towards becoming a better individual in this role. Why do you think that was what you had then done?
That's a great question. I think, first of all, I don't blame people for being that way, because hospitality, generally speaking,
Ruthless.
You're ruthless, and you genuinely you don't get treated very well.
Yeah.
You know, you don't, like I said, it's not even just like the money, it's the hours. Like even like a lot of people are just like exhausted, and a lot of managers are managers because they've been there the longest, and they don't really
Old
have
school manager,
yeah,
eh?
old school managers, you know, and they don't necessarily they just don't really care about the staff. So it's just that vicious cycle, isn't it? Nobody's looking after anybody. The owner's not looking after the management's not looking after the staff. So you get a lot of just people that are just like, well, yeah, it's a paycheck. But I think, like, I couldn't tell you, it wasn't like a conscious decision or anything. I think the best answer to give is probably just my nature in that regard. You know, don't want to sound like I'm giving myself a compliment, but I just feel like, yeah, I'm here. I'm going to do the best job I can. I'm going to get stuck into this and try to make it, you know, as rewarding an experience for me as I can. You know, I think I was fortunate to work with an older guy came, Mad Rab. And he was like a lifelong hospitality guy, but what phenomenal at his job. And I remember looking at him thinking, I remember like following his lead and being like, my shifts are so much more enjoyable and they go so much faster when I have that attitude of trying to make people's night, rather than being like, oh, fuck, another table coming in, like, I'm walking at 9:00. Jesus Christ, I got the road.
It's like the wanky saying just now, but mindset generally can be everything.
Oh, massively. See the shift. It's shifting it, and again, it just made it so much more enjoyable, and actually made a lot of like really amazing like relationships with customers off the back of it. Like I remember when I left in like December 2015, just a couple of weeks before Christmas, people came in and like gave me gifts and stuff, and I was like genuinely like taken aback, and they would be like, oh, you've served us for like 8 years in here, and you served me at, you know, my mum's 60th, and when this happened, and my son's graduation, all these memories, and you realise like, man, like you can have like an actual impact on people that's really, really memorable, and I've never forgot that. And I think like for that experience alone, it was more than worth it being in there, for sure.
Yeah, it's like a test to your character and that. So when do you make the decision, or why have you pieced it together in your mind to move away from hospitality? What was going on in your life then?
It was, I've done people might, if anybody's followed me, they'll know the exact moment. I was standing in the bar with a regular called Tony, good guy, and he always drank Bellhaven Best, and I literally put his Bellhaven Best down to him, and he looked over at a manager who'd been there 30, 40 years or something like that.
Wow.
And he just nodded at him, and he went, that'll be you next. And then next day I handed my notice in.
Really?
Oh, is it that impactful?
Yeah. Next day I was like, fuck
I don't want that.
Fuck that, no way.
Yeah.
August 2015, I just went down the stairs and I was like, listen, to the general manager, look, I'm leaving. I'm going to give you till December. Like, I'm going to give you like as long a notice as I can. So in August, I'm saying I'm leaving in the week before Christmas. So I'll work the busiest period and all that, and you can put me on as much as you want to say, well, I'm out here. And that was the moment. That was it. Because I just remember looking at that guy and being like, I do not want. And like, do you feel like that guy, the manager in particular that he pointed to, like he was somebody that, like, again, like I used to catch him sneaking whiskies behind the bar and stuff, and it wasn't like it was because he just couldn't do the job anymore. He just struggled with like the pressure of the job. He should have been doing it, and I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm not so arrogant to believe that can't be me.
Yeah.
Somebody holds a mirror up, 30 years time.
Yeah. And I just remember thinking, that's not what I want for my life. I'm not doing this. Like, I think I was 20, where would I have been then? 24 at the time. And a real pivot moment, I just met Jill, my now wife and mother of my child. I remember thinking, like, yeah, if I've got a chance of building a life with her, like, this can't be it. And I think it just took that little nudge. It's so funny how all these things bubble under the surface, and it just takes one comment, and they just all come rushing up to the surface, and you go, right, I need to do something with this. So that was the exact moment. I'd already qualified as a PT, so I had my Rep 3 at that point. I just hadn't done anything with it, so I'd done my course and all that, so I was ready to go. And then in January, I went into coaching full time. So and then that was it. Yeah.
Did you know that in August then when you put your notice in that that's what you wanted to do?
Yeah. I knew I was going to go into coaching. I knew that the only thing I had to kind of think of was like, what is that going to look like? Because you know yourself, like coaching can take any type of, are you going to go work in a pure gym, or are you going to go work in a council gym, get a paid role or whatever? So that was the only decision I had to make. And then by January, I decided that I'm going to be like I don't know how I came up with this idea. I think somebody else might have put it in my head because it wasn't a very good idea, which probably tells you it was my idea, right? So
it was definitely someone else.
There was somebody else. It was definitely me, 100%. No, I had a smart idea to launch a mobile personal training business.
I heard this, so I'm very curious where this came from.
What a terrible idea. Don't do this if you're listening. You're a coach. It's terrible. I was like, I'm going to launch a mobile personal training business. I didn't have a driver's license. I had like no savings. I had nothing. I didn't have any kit. Nothing. I had my Rep 3 and that was it. So I passed my test. In fact, I'll make this very clear. I learned how to pass my test. I did not learn how to drive because I learned it in 4 days with this lunatic called Michael, who used to just smoke fags during the lesson. He used to, I always remember.
Good turn, pal.
Oh, mate. Honestly, this guy, what a character, by the way. He used to do corporate driving days and like take people off roading, and he would just do this on the side. He'd just do like random intensive courses. So he's getting guys to like rally in Land Rovers, and then he's teaching me how to drive around Airdrie. You know, and he used to be up to roundabouts and be like, just go, mate, use that car as a shield. It's fine, just go. Use that car as a shield. And I'm like, I don't think you're allowed to do that.
But here, I've got one goal here, and you're going to help me get that goal.
And anyway, I passed my test, so I had the means to run a mobile business, got my kit and all that. I had it in like this big B&Q box, this big box on wheels. And yeah, I mean, I got like 4 clients out the gate, and I was like, I'm flying here. This is going to take off. I got no more clients after that.
Did you know?
And then by like February, I was like, no money, no clients. Sorry, still had those clients, nowhere near enough. Because I also, by the way, I also decided to move out for the first time.
I was about to ask you, home here or are you?
No, moved out with Jill for the first time, moved into the flat. Again, like no money coming in, nothing, just in such a awful position. I was just like, oh my God, this is like nothing compared to failing your exams. This is real life. Like, like you're an adult now, you've got bills to pay, you've moved in, with the woman you want to spend the rest of your life with. She didn't know that at the time, but I knew that. And look at the state of you, man. And then I had to go and get a job in a studio gym, hopefully to try to get still self-employed, still got to find your own clients. That kind of helped a little bit. That got a little bit more money coming in. Then had to kind of go and get a job behind a bar again, which was pretty humiliating at the time. I had to go and get a job behind a bar to kind of just make ends meet. And then the PT stuff started to pick up. I moved to a different gym, had a decent one-to-one base. Online started to take off. But I was never quite able to really say like, yeah, this is like the life we want to live. I was always just kind of like scraping by sort of thing, and always kind of stressed about clients and things. And as much as I love the coaching aspect, like working with people, the business aspect of it was always super stressful for me, super stressful. And I never quite managed to like figure it out. I was always just kind of like going round in circles and stuff. So, and I think that you might ask this, so apologies if I'm skipping ahead, but when I started to see, like, now a very close friend, David Hart, and a client, see him operate up close, I was like, don't have that in my locker.
Or did you think just two different people?
Right away. I think that's a good thing, because like I remember learning that in sport. I remember thinking I was a really good rugby player, and then I went and played with guys who are now like got like 100 caps for Scotland. I was like, I'm okay at best. You get
You're good in your team.
Yeah, you get that
in my local area. It's like national levels different.
I'm all right there. And then you get smashed off some big massive Samoan guy in your first game of senior rugby, and you're like, oh right, okay. So I think like comparison is really healthy there, because it makes you realise like, okay, well I've not got that in my locker. And I remember like seeing David like handle like 40 online clients, batting back and forth on WhatsApp, doing their meal plans and nutrition, and being energised by it. And I remember doing the same and being wiped out. Totally zapped, didn't have the emotional energy. And when I say draining, I don't mean the clients were draining, like themselves. I mean, I was literally, I've never experienced anything like that since. Just that level of communication and back and forth in management, I just don't have that in me at all. And I remember just like sitting on the couch, just like staring into space, just being totally vacant after that. So that was another real key turning point when you see that level up close, because that was the level of success that I was aspiring to in coaching, in terms of that amount of clients, that amount of kind of the way the business ran, the money, everything. And I'm like, okay, I know I just don't have that in my locker. So that was like a really key realization. I remember I didn't panic at the time though. I do remember that. I remember being like, okay, I'm not going to do that. So maybe now this copywriting thing is something I should really look, because I always had half an eye on it, which is probably why my coaching business wasn't taking off.
Were you doing that like, not as a side hustle, but doing it alongside of it?
I was doing it alongside it, yeah. Again, I think it was just like that desperation just to kind of, I need to make more money. And like, I'd written a couple of blogs and I'm like, okay, well, I was on like freelancing websites doing like random, like
submitting stuff.
Submitting for jobs and doing random email sequences or blog posts and stuff. And I really, really enjoyed it. So I'd always kind of had half an eye on it. And I think like my grand total from that freelance website was $300. So
I was going to say, what's the payments like at that?
Oh, it's like a payment of like £1 per word or something like that.
So I was on Upwork and like, I was like all sorts of jobs. I was anything involving writing. I remember I wrote a blog about tennis before.
You're like, I don't know tennis, but I'll just do it.
What does the creative process look like when the workload comes in? You're like, right, what am I doing? Like, what is the next step?
This is pre-AI, obviously.
I know.
That's
what I mean. Like,
old school, you know, like, I feel like, you know, our parents would say, like, oh, I had to go to the library. And then we'd say, like, well, I couldn't use ChatGPT. I had to go to Google. No. And but honestly, to be fair, it all depends on the brief you get. Sometimes you get a decent brief off whoever's looking for the work. And generally speaking, the briefs would be good because they want the work quickly. So they're like, right, I just need you to write the words. So it was never, and I remember writing quite a few articles and stuff in the kind of hospitality industry about cocktails and stuff, because again, that was something I knew. I'd done a lot of fitness stuff, but there's a couple that were kind of random, like out there. There was one project I did and it was like this mad like spirituality retreat,
like holistic views
and all that, which at the time I was like, this ain't me. And it was all very hippy dippy and all that, and that was actually, I remember that was my highest paying gig. I think I got $150 for that.
I think the questions,
whatever
like,
that was.
Is this the route I want to go down? Like, maybe it's not the client.
Definitely not. But it definitely gave me like good experience and just that kind of early kind of, you've just got to do your research and go through your writing process and all that, and that's what kind of confirmed. I'm like, I think I can make a go of this.
Did it feel just more natural then, do you think?
Yeah, it did. It felt like I was way more like relaxed. I was enjoying my work. I was even enjoying the bits that were a bit of a slog, and I think that's always a good sign. You know, like I wouldn't necessarily say enjoying, but I wasn't dreading them. So, like, for example, with coaching, sometimes when a client would come in, like I was always way more interested in the training side of things. I trained a lot of people that were like, amateur athletes, like they took their performance really serious. So obviously I trained a lot of rugby players, trained a lot of runners and things like that, but on their kind of more, I wasn't an S&C coach in terms of like my qualification, but like their goal was to run faster, get stronger, like perform better at whatever their chosen sport was. I was never that interested in the nutrition side of things. Obviously I delivered for my clients, but see, writing out like anything to do with nutrition, I was like, I put it off and I ding it, and I'm like, this is such a bollock. I hate this. But the equivalent with writing, say it was like the research, like going into Reddit threads, digging in winches, let's just find some interesting stuff on here.
It's like fact checking as well.
Yeah. All of that stuff, I was a bit like, this is okay. Like, this is okay. Like, because I know that I felt like I was kind of getting the source material for my kind of creativity, if you like, and getting all the stuff that I needed to then go and produce a really great piece of work. And I always felt way more satisfied when I had a polished article or email sequence or something than I did with a before and after from a client, sort of thing. So I think all those signs were pointing me down the road of like where I ultimately went. Yeah.
Now, something that we're kind of overlooking here is like how when we choose the path of like whether you'd call that running your own business or becoming self-employed and doing your own thing, the social media or how you get leads and business in looks so different today than what it did back then. Like Instagram square posts. I remember when I had David on the mindset page, and one thing I would do is go back. I was like, I wonder what he was posting in 2015, because I wasn't in the fitness space in 2015. There's a picture of a banana and it's like breakfast time, and it was it was just like a leg exercise, and I was like, that's crazy that's how you would drive so much traffic to your page and everything.
Yeah.
So the personal training side of things then, was your, quite curious, like, does your family see that as like, oh, he's doing his own thing, he's building a career for himself, or was it not, were you not that much involved with, like, or worried about trying to impress people at this point?
I wasn't really, I think like,
Sorry, impress is the wrong word.
no, but I know what you're
it
saying,
means.
absolutely, yeah. I think they were probably thinking, yeah, okay, that's him, he's finally made a move, but now looking back, you could probably, I mean, they're far from stupid. They could probably see like he's not doing that
He doesn't know
well.
what he's doing.
He doesn't know what he's doing, you know. Again, because it's just intuitive, isn't it? You can just see certain little things. Even though like I'd moved out and stuff. So yeah, I think they kind of look, and I like see. I came out in a rash for stress. Like I had rashes all over my body. Like, which is mad to think, rashes and warts.
Yeah.
Mental. Like, I remember at the time
Your body actually rejecting it. Yeah.
like so stressed. Like,
Yeah.
I remember at the time, like, going to dermatology appointments and all that, and then like me and Jill laugh about it now. Obviously, a bit of morbid humour, which we're very much known for around these parts. I remember that time I was putting cream in my body and I was just stressed because I was skint. I was putting like steroids. I remember like it was the creases in my arms and like on my back and stuff. I was going for patch tests and all that back and forth to dermatology. This dermatologist was being like that. Fucking. Nothing's changing about you. Like, what is this? And the way, how's your lifestyle? I'm like, oh, fine, aye, nobody's there, doc.
Inflammation of everything else.
Yeah. So like, to look back on that, obviously the signs must have been there, and even just in your general like demeanour, people can pick up on things, can't they? Even if you try to put a face on it. But I think they were probably thinking like, yeah, do you know what? Because the thing is, my stepdad and my dad, they had very similar paths. Like they kind of like, my stepdad dropped out of uni, got a job in Tesco, worked up to manager, got another job in retail, then started his own business. My dad went to the army, he was a bouncer, he was like a sound engineer, was digging on the railways, got a job in the head office for the railways, then went to London and got a cracking job. So, I mean, like they were very much like similar paths. Even like down to like the age, me and my dad had our kind of breakthrough, if you like, was 27. It's literally the exact same. So I think there was maybe like, from their own experiences, they were probably thinking like, you know what, he's making his way. You know, I would think that now, because they were. So if I was looking at my brother doing, I'd be like, yeah, he's making his way in life. He's probably bumping into a few challenges, but he's going to be all right. So yeah, I think that's probably what they were thinking at the time.
What about your relationship with Jill during this time as well? Was that like?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was like it's always been great. We always say like we've always been happy. Like, regardless of our situation, we've always been so happy with each other. But I think that I dealt with a lot of guilt after those times. I feel like I put Jill through things that she shouldn't have been put through in the flat. Because again, like she was young, flying her career. We should have been living a life for Riley, really. We should have been going on multiple holidays a year. And this isn't meant from a materialistic point of view, it's more experiences, you know. She shouldn't have had to deal with that stress. She shouldn't have had to say, we've got £35 to spend on food this week in Aldi. You know what I mean? And that's all 100% on me. Like, I put her in that situation, and I felt a lot of guilt around that, and I always felt like I could try to work my way out of it. I never quite could, and I could. It just took a lot longer. I was expecting it like, one big push in my market and I'll be out of this situation. So I think like at the time, obviously, like we've always been happy whether like we were like skint in the flat or obviously running a business that does well, and going on doing all the experience things that we spoke about. But yeah, it did take me a long time to stop carrying around that guilt and that genuine regret. Because Jill's younger than me. Jill's 3 years younger than me, so. She was like 22 when we went into the flat, and I remember thinking, 22, you shouldn't be dealing with this at 22. You know, this isn't, especially when you're doing as well as you are, you know. So I think that was difficult for me to kind of process. But I do remember Jill saying to me once, she's like, do you know what, you need to get over this because I forgave you a long time ago. And then that was like, again, similar to the comment from the regular in Regano, I was like,
okay.
Move on.
Okay.
Yeah.
And she didn't realise I was dealing with those feelings though. I was just carrying this around when I told her. And I remember, like, again, similar to like when my parents found out I wasn't going to uni, she was just like, fuck you.
Like, why would you think that?
Shut up. Like, what are you talking about? So yeah, and I think like that was a weakness of mine at the time, and was for a long time afterwards, like always assuming that others think the absolute worst of me or the things that I've done, and not just asking them, you know, because like the worst thing that's going to happen is they confirm your opinion, which you already think anyway. So like, I think that's something that I've learned, and certainly learned through with Jill, definitely.
Did you ever piece together where it came from? Like where that, because I do question this sometimes. I think I've got a people pleaser nature, and we've spoke like you as well, and it's like I wonder where you develop that from. Is it just in everyone? But then I see some people and they're just ruthless, and I'm like, they obviously do not give a fuck about other people's opinions. I wish I could take some of that as well.
See, I think other people, I know people would say that I'm like that.
Okay.
People would say that I'm not a people pleaser, and I'm genuine. I'm not a people pleaser. Like,
oh yeah, the Instagram name, was it Savage Chris?
Savage Chris, yeah. But yeah, I've never been like a people pleaser. It's funny because Jill says that one thing that you taught me is that no is an answer.
Yeah.
You don't need that, because if I'd even like little things like, oh, you know, do you want to come to this dinner, come to this thing, I'd be like, no thanks.
That's that you don't like.
I genuinely do not feel any part of me feels needed to give an excuse after that. I don't feel uncomfortable. I understand how other people would. I'm not like, I'm not a sociopath. I understand how other people would feel uncomfortable in that situation, but I've never have. So like, it's a weird kind of juxtaposition almost. It's like, I've got that side to me, but I think for the people that I love the most and I care about the most, I could probably count on one hand the amount of people's opinions that I value in my life, but I value those opinions sky high, you know. So I think like I would only feel that way about those people. So like Jill's opinion matters more than anybody's. So that's why I felt that way about her. Like I didn't care if even like my close mates, I'm like, well, I don't really care if you think what you think about me and Jill being in that or like me getting a job behind the bar or me or whatever it is. But Jill's opinion, that matters more than anything else. So I would only feel that way towards certain people. Everybody else, I would probably be fitting the category you described as being like, whatever, don't care. So yeah.
So the back to like the PTing or the end of the PTing journey, how does that go from switching off that business model and going all in on the copywriting? Like, did you know about copywriting at this point? Is that like the term you're like, okay, I'm going to push the storytelling side of things?
Yeah, I did. So I'd known about it. A guy who I'm now mates with, Mike Samuels, got me into it. Through his course, done his course, and then always followed him and stuff. And he had a similar path. He was a personal trainer and became a copywriter and stuff. So I'd kind of followed him and kind of thought, right, okay, well, I could probably model his journey in my own way. And then I did his kind of like first kind of flagship course, which was called the Freedom Kickstarter. I started that in the August, roughly when I, what was that, like maybe like 2019, because I launched the business officially in January 2020, like as in like moved on for coaching. So I done that, and then that led to my first client. So like in terms of like shifting business models, I done that course that gave me more skills, but also just a little bit of self-belief and like maybe showed me some ways to get clients. And then I just like, right, okay, I've got no money to put any ads or anything like that. I don't have a network of any sort, but I'm a coach, I've got lots of experience in fitness. I can probably pitch a lot of fitness companies on their email marketing. And that's what I did. I just was relentless, like sending emails from a ChristopherBurns204@gmail.com. Like, hello.
It's not the most embarrassing email address. Could have been worse.
It could have been a lot worse, couldn't it? Yeah, see if it was my MSN ad.
I was going to say, do you remember what was your MSN?
I think it was like Burnsy_CFC91 or something.
Mad Dale.
Mad Dale.
I don't know why.
Mine was Lil Jillian.
Lil Jillian.
Cringe.
Remember you had folk in your name? Remember if you could put in somebody's name, you're like, that bird put me in her name in MSN.
And then Bebo and all that.
Your top 6 was written people.
I remember, you used to give people love. You can only give 4 a day or 3 or 4 a day or something like that. Unlimited in Valentine's Day.
I think that was the first. I think that was like the craziest social experiment to put like young impressionable kids through, because you seen who the popular kids were because they had all the loves and that. And it's like, I've not even got 80 on my page. They've got 400, 500.
Like anxiety now, like mental health, because
like, trauma deeply rooted. Maybe that's where mine comes from. A people pleaser. I'm trying to get 3 loves from every interaction. People trauma.
Yeah.
So I before we move on for the personal training into like the marketing side of things, all the skills that you've got just now, do you think you could run a better personal training business?
I've played that situation in my head a few times. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, 100%. I think looking back again, I never really like,
because you've got a great idea, the mobile personal training. I think today's world, there's a huge
Yeah.
market for it.
Yeah,
Especially like during COVID there, that was been
I'd have
know.
been quids in. I know they've done well, but yeah, I think now I understand more about like all the kind of fundamentals, you know, giving people what they want. I think back then I was just I was basically marketing to like Moz, right? Moz and semi-detached houses, and I was posting about like
Get
1 rep
better
max
rugby.
deadlifts.
and they're like, okay.
They're like, all right, I just want to maybe, you know, get a bit of sweat in my living room and lose a few
Yeah, yeah.
pounds. Like, so yeah, definitely. Even just that on its own, for sure. I think I'll be able to, you know, make my content, my marketing just laser targeted on my actual target. That wasn't even, so funny thing that I wasn't even thinking about that. I wasn't even thinking about like, I was just posting what I wanted to post. There was no thought behind it.
Yeah.
Okay, it might have had like, got a few likes and stuff like that and got some interest, but I was never posting to get clients. I thought I was, but none of my content was relating to people at all. So I definitely think I could go back and do a better job of certainly getting the clients in, for sure. Yeah, I'm pretty confident I could do that.
So a big part of like getting you on is definitely to talk about your experience and obviously your expertise and marketing approach, more so on storytelling and that.
Right.
I think storytelling is probably more, we've done, was that just the last podcast or the podcast before? We've done one on personal brand, and when we were looking into it, it's like, this is the only thing that's going to probably separate businesses and brand going forward. I think back in the day, everyone was posting more or less the same thing, but it's almost that we've evolved from that, especially with how easy it is to create content now, all the apps that you can use, how many posts physically go out on social platforms. So the shift into marketing, because there's a part of this journey where you're in the hustle and getting your first couple of clients. The outbound method of I'm just going to cold message people, and where does that come from? Is that the course that you learned? Is that where you gained that, or is it just?
No, that was just necessity more than anything. That was just me sitting thinking, right, okay, this is literally the only way I can reach out to these people. It was quite like, I would say like simplistic thinking at the time, but it certainly worked, because I was like, okay, I can, at the time, obviously I was like, I can write good emails. Now I would probably look at the emails I wrote back then and be like, oh my God, that's so embarrassing. But we all do. We all do. I'm sure you do the same with your work as well. But I was like, I can write good emails and I can get into these people's inboxes because I know their DMs are going to be slammed. And I knew that people were that was kind of early doors of people DMing for business and stuff. And I was like, if I'm going to run their emails, I should really be emailing them, you know, and showing up how I can be. So like, I took actually the opposite approach of a lot of cold email advice and still to this day, which does work and when it's scaled up, but it was more about get a templated, keep it super short, people have short attention spans. I was sending 500 word cold pitches. Now, somebody might say you would have got a better response if you reduce it down, but
It landed you your first client.
It landed me my first retainer client, and nobody at that time was getting retainer clients from cold email. I say nobody as if like that's an absolute statement, but like the people that I was in, you know, the kind of, for the people in that course, and the people that was kind of in my network at the time, that was like the golden goose. That was like, could you get a retainer client? Like normally you'd have to do like a paid project.
Yeah, to
win them over.
And I was just like straight in at retainer because I was craving security, because I dealt with so much kind of fluctuation in income before. So I was like, I just need security. And then when I landed that retainer, like that equaled to my personal training income and a wee bit more from one retainer. And I was like, holy shit, like this is massive. And that's when I went like all in on it. And like, that's all I did from like, so the January we went all in the business for January, and then in September, I was in a position to take Jill out her full-time job and bring her into the business. And that was all through cold emails from a Gmail, personalised. I would do what you know, very similar to what you do. Like, you know, you're scrolling back. I would do the same. I would go on people's Instagram pages. I would not, you know, that way, like, it's so transparent when people, it's your latest post, like, hey, I loved your post on such and such. I'm like, it's the top of my feed, mate.
Like, so you've not done much
You've not done much research.
Yeah.
But I would dig in, and again, probably pulling on some principles from hospitality, being like, my only thought was, how do I stand out here?
Curiosity.
Yeah, how do I stand out, and how do I show them that like I've put in that, because I've not got a body of work, I've not got a portfolio, I've not got anybody vouching for me. So the only thing I can do here is give this person some sort of experience and emotional connection enough so I can get on a call with them or get a back and forth with them. And it really, really worked. You know, like a lot of the times we'd come back and compliment and specifically reference like the reference that I had made to them being in a podcast like 2 years before, or I would even find like random articles about them when they first launched their business and reference things and that. So it worked a treat and got the business to like that mythical 6-figure level that everybody loves to talk about.
I always find it fascinating when you consume a lot of podcasts as well, and you hear stories of people talking about how you generally are like 1 or 2 moves away from this sort of dream life that you think so far out of reach. And it's quite funny like hearing your story going from like the quote unquote scraping by, albeit like you're trying to make ends meet, trying to make it work, you're trying to choose the right path, and 9 months probably when you're in it felt like a long time, or throughout your 20s felt like a long time, but looking back it probably goes by so quickly, and you never know what's just like a couple of months ahead, or 6 months down the line, or 9 months down the line. So it's quite powerful to hear that part.
I think like just very quickly, see on the cold email thing, the first client, I always like to make this point, like I sent 27 emails to get that client to the same person.
To them?
To them, aye. Not 27 without response, but it was 27. That email chain is 27 emails long.
Okay. Back and forth.
I think I got an answer on like the 7th or 8th email, and then the back and forth after that was them cancelling calls, rearranging calls, going dark, me following up for 3 emails in a row, being on their email list, screenshotting things and being like, here's how I would do this differently. So that's the kind of things you've got to do early doors, and it's just like you've got that. That's actually an advantage. You can be scrappy and, just stand out really, because that is fundamentally what you're trying to do. And it's actually arguably easier to stand out now as well because of all the absolute dross that people get in their inboxes from 17-year-olds who have done, a $97 course and are telling people they can make them 7 figures overnight.
Yeah,
it's probably a lot easier.
AI, automated type thing.
Yeah, exactly. So it's probably a lot easier.
I can get you 10,000 followers and you click on the page and I'm like, you've made 0 social posts. Like there's a disconnect there.
Massively.
So what you're saying there, I think there's 2 parts. It's like one part of it is like just doing the hard work, like putting in the reps. Research is a big thing. And it's crazy that the bar is pretty low on, you maybe need to swipe your thumb 3 times just to get something. But I like kind of like shaping up your story is that curiosity, working in hospitality. You can see why all those traits have really built the strength of probably why you had such a successful first 9 months in this. The client that you ended up getting on board, obviously it doesn't matter necessarily who it is, but how did you start to... is that the client you've kept for 4 years?
Yeah, we kept them for 4 years. Yeah, and then the owners parted ways. Yeah, so they sold the business. So yeah.
So that like, it's so funny because people try and create a blueprint of how to land your first 5 clients. Do this method, but there's something to be said there. Like, do what feels right in your gut. Like, and it's like, and just go with that. Just on the last podcast, I made a 17-minute Instagram video for my first post when I started working in a gym. And that landed me my first client. 1 person watched that, but I was like, he stayed with me for like 2-3 years, and it's like sometimes out with the norm isn't the right thing to do. You just need to go in and get your reps for it yourself.
Absolutely. I think like that's a kind of marketing principle. People often say like when everybody's zigging, you zag, and I know sometimes that sounds a bit kind of, it's not very specific, is it? It's like, well, how do you actually do that? And a lot of the times genuinely it is just going your gut instinct, but I think it is hard to do nowadays because there's so much like, here's the playbook, here's the copy and paste system. Yeah. And there's so many like attractive characters out there on social media giving you step by step for X, Y, and Z. And I think like, especially when it comes to marketing, like if you're a business owner listening to this, like a lot of the times, like your gut instinct is going to take you in the right direction, and there's always something to be said for following proven principles. I totally understand that. But like you said, if you've got the kind of instinct to be like, you know what, I could probably do like a long form video right now and fire it out to my email list with a link to an unlisted YouTube and see how that goes. Like, you've got nothing to lose in that regard, and you'll only develop, you only get more feedback from it. But whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether it's you want to go down like the route of direct mail, send it out later, whatever the strategy is, I just think like what you said there is so key. Like, try to stand out and don't have an idea that's based on kind of gut instinct and you think it and then correct it because, so-and-so on a podcast said this, or I saw this post that said that. don't do that to yourself. Always go for it. You've got the luxury of like being a business owner, be able to try these things out. You know yourself, Jonathan, being like in kind of more corporate marketing, how hard is it to get ideas through?
Yeah, and to get
you know,
everything signed
multiple
off.
signed offs and this and that. The luxury you've got is being creative and like launching
Being
things and
reactive.
seeing how they go, man.
Literally
Like
doing it today.
it's not the end of the world if it doesn't work. You've got some feedback that okay, that didn't work, but I can, now I've got another direction to go in based on that. So by all means, like just crack on.
Yeah. So email marketing then is like, I was saying earlier on, I never pieced together as a strategy for generating business for my coaching. I just seen it as like, okay, it's the big corporate companies that do that. And I think it was an event went to a couple of years ago and they were talking about the funnels and then building their email list through lead magnets. And I was like, my God, this is a golden nugget that I've never pulled on this strategy. So what's been like, it's obviously changing throughout the years, and I think it will ever change with technology and that. Is it still as powerful, a powerful method to drive leads into someone's business?
Massively, yeah. It has changed though, I would say, quite significantly in probably the past 18 months. There's been a huge shift, but I think there's been just a huge shift in the market in general. Like markets have caught up to a lot of the strategies, and there's always a lag. There's always a lag in these things. So like early doors, when I was full-time in copywriting, webinars were the thing, webinars and live masterclasses, and that worked for a long time, but then people got wise to the fact that there's a pitch coming at the end of this. I know there's a pitch coming at the end of this. So how you adapt to that is you tell people there's going to be a pitch, and like, okay, I feel comfortable. They've said there's going to be a pitch, and then you put the pitch at the start of the video and then at the end of the video. So you're always adapting to these things, but now people have just got quite kind of tired of all the same old promises. And I think like when you've got that kind of level of like kind of almost apathy in the market, it means that you have to really start to try to, again, go back to like really stand out and lean into more of like the things we spoke about in terms of your story and, okay, well, what kind of experience are people having on your email list now? I think the rise of AI has made email marketing more acceptable now. It's put way more
volume,
slop out there, right? Shit emails, but it's still emails. It's still emails filling up people's inboxes. So the perception before of emails was, I get emails about discount codes for ASOS and, my bills, BT, your bill's ready, like that's the kind of, so.
Ticking the box.
Yeah, exactly. But now it's been expanded and now people are getting emails from all kinds of business owners and personal brands and things. So I think for you to cut through the noise, it does come down to the impact and the power of your story. But then also going back to that experience point, like, okay, well, what kind of experience are people having on your email list? Like, how can you, because at the end of the day, it's a communication tool. It is a conversion tool as well, but it's the most intimate platform that you probably have, like outside of like YouTube and podcasts, because obviously this is like long form, but in the shorter form market, it's like the most intimate platform you have. So, okay, well, how can you direct their attention to the right places? Like, are you, for example, one thing I was doing for a while with my email list was I was sending out case studies of client campaigns. It was like a 10-minute Loom video, sending them to there. It sounds simple, but it gave them a different experience. I didn't reinvent the wheel with that, but it was certainly different from a lot of other things that was going on. So I think like that's what you've got to look at now. I think people again are just like, there's just a lot more resistance to buying that you need to overcome now. It's just a natural progression of the kind of markets over time. Like when I first got into it, it was like the golden age for people buying like business courses and things like that. Like, you look across the board, like I've heard, like again through the grapevine, my network, like there was guys that were doing like crazy numbers that have went down. I mean, guys that were doing over like 50 grand a month in course sales that have went down to below 10.
Yeah, I feel the cost bubbles
because the market's shifted so much, and of course there's nuances involved in each one, but just generally, principle across the board is, people, people call it a trust recession. There's a real trust recession on there. So if you can build trust and authority with your audience, you'll be the one that, because in every recession there's opportunities. Every financial recession somebody gets rich. So in a trust recession you can get rich by building trust and authority.
So come on to like some of the stuff that you're doing like just now and how that's changed. But before we get there, I think for businesses, when they're looking at the approaches of how they can get trust built up with their audience, you got social media, which is one of them. You got the paid, I guess, approach. If we tie this to like generating leads in business that come into them, so you get social side of things, and then you've got all the individual social platforms. You get email there as well. Does email pair better with any different platform, or is it very dependent on the business from what you've seen?
I think it pairs. I think it just fits in really well with every platform. So, for example, a lot of business, say you've got a business and you're putting everything into social media. Email is how you get more depth of those ideas. So you're posting 7 days a week. You've got 3 emails going out a week that take 3 of those ideas and give more depth and give more insight. And maybe because it's, again, because of the nature of the platform, because it's the written word, you've got more chance to have more of an impact there if you are writing your emails well and, you know, using the principles of storytelling, copywriting, things like that, and driving action with, you know, your calls to action. If you say, a lot of people are like more like long form first, aren't they? A lot of people are like, I'm solely YouTube, I'm solely podcast. Like Colin Campbell, who, you know, we know, he's became a client recently, but that's when email comes like as the kind of in between. You know, they've got this, maybe you've got like a long form channel, you've got that short form channel, say like on Instagram. Email bridges that gap nicely. It's probably going to lead to more conversions and sales and leads, but it also bridges the gap between like an hour long podcast and a 10-second reel. So it's just that night, whatever your setup is in terms of your marketing, from your social media strategy to your sales channels, it just plugs in beautifully well. Even if you are running ads and things, like I've got clients who run ads for like to book a call to talk about joining the program. Email fits in there in terms of pre-framing them before the call, so they show up already pretty much pre-sold, so their sales team doesn't have to do a lot of work on the actual call in terms of converting them. So again, it's just that piece where I always say like it's the kind of lifeblood of your business in terms of like you've got newsletters going out every week, and that's just maintaining that relationship. And yes, you'll get sales from them, absolutely, but there's a whole other piece of email marketing in terms of like the automations, matching customers' behavior, digging into segments. It's not just, I send 3 emails a week to my list. That's like the bare minimum. You know, that's the standard. And I'm not even saying that number as in like that's, you know, you can send how many you want, but the real kind of money is made and the kind of growth is made when you use the kind of the data behind it in terms of like the segments, and you've got wait lists for programs and you've got launches on your email list. That's when you really start to see the huge benefits of email marketing.
This obviously goes into like the different strategies and whatnot. Does obviously the size of the email list that businesses will have, like there's 2 parts to this question. Before we think about growing it, like does it have to be a certain numbers? Also, the more the better, I guess, when some people look. But I think, like you said, it's matching the right audience and make sure that you're not doing these sleazy methods just to get people on your email list, and then you hit them with something completely different. You're like, you've just lost trust.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's been like the smallest email list in terms of numbers that you've worked on that you've actually seen perform really good?
Like 500.
Oh, really?
500 subscribers, 500 subscribers for a kind of higher ticket coaching service. Again, that it was just a very well qualified 500 people, you know, and got really good leads from it. I could even like talk about my own email list. You know, my own email list is like 600 subscribers. I've just grown it organically. I think I've made off the top of my head about $7,500 off the back of that email list, just through my info products and like a new coaching offer I've got. So I mean, like when you compare that to number of subscribers, you know, that's like, oh, okay, that's a fair amount, you know. So it's not necessarily about like how many subscribers you have. Opposite, I've emailed a list that had 175,000 subscribers and got diddly squat out of it. Because it was just
like a mass.
It's just it's just nonsense. It's just crap. So the size of the email list isn't necessarily like that important. It's more about, again, like your relationship with them, and where have they came from as well. You know, if you are posting, say you've got your Instagram locked in and you're posting regularly and you've got like good engagement and you've been on there for a while. If you launch an email list, even if you get like 300-400 people on there, you're gonna see some real benefits from that. I'm not saying like straight away, but after a month or 2 of emailing those people, you're going to start seeing leads and sales coming through, because again, you're just deepening the relationship that you already have with them. It's almost like going out with somebody to moving in with them. That's the kind of vibe, you know. If you've got something that's like working on one platform, you move them to email, it just takes that relationship to another level. So the size of your email list, my clients' email lists range from 600-700 up to 45,000. So that's the kind of range that I'm working with at the minute with clients. Biggest one I've had is 85,000 that performed super well. 85,000. We had like a 45% open rate.
Wow.
And we're like selling out group programs in literally like 90 seconds for 150 spots at like 200 odd quid each. Like it was wild.
How much do you play a part in terms of the strategy of building an email list? How does that come into play?
Yeah, so I mean, again, that's something that I've been doing now for 2 years now. Initially, when I first got into copywriting, I was just writing the emails.
Yeah.
But then you quickly realise like
There's more to it.
there's more to it, and also it's actually incumbent upon me to get involved in the strategy, because there's a saying in copywriting, like, you know, world's best copy can't make up for a crap offer. So I've had to get involved in conversations before with people, which again, I've genuinely never found them uncomfortable, but I can see how certain people would, certain copywriters would. I've had to find a way of saying in a nice way, like, listen, nobody wants this. This isn't a good move for us, like, and here's why. Because you have to back up the reason why. You know yourselves, like, you're business owners. Like, business owners never stop thinking about their business.
Yeah.
And obviously, you can never read the label from inside the jar.
No.
So one of the benefits of like working with me, like my clients find, is like I'm an outside perspective on them, and I've got clients that across multiple industries, you know, from like e-commerce to medical device sales in America, and like I'm not in those industries. I've got a good understanding to write the campaigns, to get the terminology right, and I know the audience, but I've also the benefit of like being outside and being like, actually, I don't think that makes a lot of sense for these reasons. So that's massively, massively important, you know, because without that in place, the copy just isn't going to perform. So I think you need to have those conversations early and position yourself well with clients to say, look, you can trust me to input here on strategy and direct us in the right way, and we can work together. It's never like, you know, I'm taking over, shut up, right? I'm doing this. That's not how I work with clients at all. But I'm grateful to have that type of position with clients where they will come to me with ideas and say, like, look, what do you think of this? How can we? And a lot of times, like, we do have to like tweak and change things to make sure it's actually appealing to people. And all the time they all say, yeah, do you know what? I never actually thought about that.
It's something that's just not front of mind for them.
Yeah, because look, business. Even I've had clients that are like super successful, right? Well, all my clients are, but like guys that you would look at and go like, oh well, like a guy that's got like a $50 million brand portfolio, right? But they're I know I don't want to sound patronising or anything like that, but like they are just people, man. Like they are just business owners. So like they get excited by ideas and they listen to podcasts and they hear something, they go, I think we should do this. And then you've got to go, let's pump the brakes there, let's calm down.
That's you.
Let's calm down. Hey, I'm the same, and I know this. Like I do this for a living, but I'm not immune. It just shows you how fundamental it is to like human behavior. Like I go to Jill, I'm like, I think we should do this, and Jill's like, go on, relax, man.
It literally seems like it's nice. Like I've got another business idea. I'm like, oh, we're still doing the other one. We haven't even launched it. Like, come on, like, give us a break to launch this one.
We had the podcast My First Million.
Yeah, I love that podcast.
So did you hear with the guy that sold the Ring doorbell? Have you played that? He's talking about Jeff Bezos, and he's like, what was it like to meet Jeff Bezos? And he turned around and he's like, do you know, I didn't meet him for a couple of years because his team didn't want him in the room because they knew if I pitched him this idea, he loves entrepreneurs that much. He was like, yeah, we're all in on that. And I was like, that's hilarious at his standard. Like, he's the same as us all. So it's such an interesting point, isn't it? Because you hold all these, like a business revenue or a big brand or whatever it may be. You think, that like they won't be normal people. Like they're so unique in themselves, when in reality they're just like us. And
that's been probably one of the more interesting parts of my journey, because I used to very much be on the outside looking in, and I'd hear stories of these copywriters working with these big brands and these people, and you put them on a pedestal, don't you? And it's like, and then you just get to meet them face to face. And again, I know it sounds like a cliche and people say it before, but you just realise that it's actually very refreshing. You're just like, oh yeah, you've made certain decisions, you've chosen certain industries, you've worked really hard, but yeah, you're just you're a business owner like me, and you know you fall victim to the same biases and things like that. You also see the exceptional side of them as well, because certainly levels of success take exceptional, you know, levels of commitment and sacrifice and risk taking. So you get to see both sides of it. Absolutely, which is very, very refreshing. But the best thing is, like, you realise, do you know what? Yeah, they're not like some mad, like, I've never came across a business owner that I think like, that guy's an absolute mutant. I don't know how the hell he does that. You know, it's always refreshing to hear. Apart from David Hart. In his Google Calendar, colour coded, weirdo.
On the subject of like meeting these business owners and that, what's been like one of the biggest lessons you maybe taken away from those guys, or just over your journey so far? What comes to mind?
Speed to execution. Something I a weakness of mine. I think probably the lessons I'm going to pick out are the areas where I'm weak, because that's where you naturally look to. So I would say, like, speed to execution is massive for these guys. I've never really came across one like David Hart's one of them. My other clients, they're just like, yeah, we've got an idea, right? Okay, let's get it built and let's ship it, let's get it out there. So I think that's a massive one.
Would you say you're a perfectionist?
No, funny. I was talking about this yesterday with Colin and David. Like, I don't think anybody is a perfectionist across the board. I think you're a perfectionist in certain areas. I can be a perfectionist with certain things in my business and like in my own content and things like that. I'm quite a perfectionist when it comes to typography. It's very, very specific, but I think it's just like the copywriter in me. Like, I love I'm very, very specific. I'm a bit of a perfectionist in those areas, but I wouldn't say I'm a perfectionist. I think I'm definitely an overthinker in terms of I will sit and really, really think, not an overthinker as in like, oh, what could go wrong? Like, oh, let's add this, oh, let's add that, oh, what about this, oh, what about
let's
that?
Change this.
Yeah, let's change this. Like, what? And you're never going to, you're always working with this kind of false premise of like, yeah, I can get this perfect and it's going to go out there and it's going to be well received. I've never launched anything that's been perfectly well received. I'm not saying like I get complaints, but you always put things out there and then people go, oh, what about that? And you get a bit and you go, you know what, that's a really good idea. You absolutely need that. You can't fear that feedback from the market. Like, I remember reading a book called How Customers Think, and it was so eye-opening because it's just like some of the smartest minds in psychology and things like that. And the overall message from the book was like, yeah, we don't know. Yeah, we don't know. We don't know why you made the decision. We can certainly get, like, I always say to my clients stuff like, let's get in the ballpark. Let's get near what's going on in our audience's minds, but understand that it's never going to be absolutely pinpoint accurate. That's a myth. So that kind of gets you out of research mode. We were saying earlier, research is super, super important, but know when to stop researching is also very important, you know.
And just get data somehow. Customer data.
Get your customer data, have conversations with people, but again, never abandon your gut and your instincts. Don't become like one of these like data obsessed people that thinks you need 17 data points before you launch a new product, you know. Get enough data so you know, like I knew people wanted my Build Your Own Welcome series product. I was like, I know people want this. I know it's something that people have asked me about. I don't know the best way to put it out there, so I think this is the best way to do it. Here you go.
Yeah.
And you know, that's the kind of creative process there. I had enough data and feedback and insight, and then I was like, the rest is on me. Let's just create this and get it out there. And that was the process. I think that alone has been worth it, being around these really successful people and just realising, like, yeah, I spend too much time in my own head thinking up ideas and products and things when I should really just be spending less time on that, more energy into building them and getting them out there.
Yeah. We've had that, like, even with the memory room, 7 months it took us to get to. I was like, and then at a funeral recently, I was like, we need to launch this. Let's just do it. And I was like, I'm going to go in there and I'm just going to record the video. I'm murdered for doing short form content.
Like, I'll tell him, like, just do a quick video for social. He's like, yeah, here's one that's 3 minutes long.
It was actually 15 minutes long. I had to cut it down to 3 minutes. But anyway,
like, that was a really good it's just,
it just shows you, like,
it was a good performing video because he'd done storytelling behind it, why we've launched it, like the story behind it.
Just like, here's why I'm doing it.
I'm the same, by the way. I struggle with short. I've had to really work on short form, and I've got a bit better at it recently, but my go-to is always medium to long form. I think it's just, again, being a copywriter, it's so much easier. I think it's so much easier to go into depth and story, whereas like if I was like going to do a 10-second reel or a 30-second reel, I'm like, I've got so much I want to say, and the people need to hear it.
I know. You know, they want to know.
So yeah, no, I like that one with speed. Hormozy talks about it a lot, actually, and he says it in such a simple way, simple terms. Sometimes you're like, yeah, I'm clearly overthinking this. Like, just get it out. We have had a couple of clients we started working with, and we try to guess like the best approach, and it's like, okay, how many customers did you have last month? It's like, oh, we had over 70 customers. It's like, let's just survey them. Let's ask them, like, what was the process or the pain points? There's your content for going forward. We try and perfect it, try and guess it. And it was a good lesson in the coaching space. It's like, yeah, let me make a video about fat loss. And it's like, is it fat loss they're struggling with? Like, let me just ask my clients, like, what's the things you're struggling with this week? Cool, there's 4 podcast ideas. So there's so many different ways that we try and use ChatGPT or use all the great tools out there that can spark creativity, but the best data point that you can go to, first of all, is your customers, whether it's to create content or to create products and that sort of thing.
Massively. I think I had a very similar experience, and I think like I often, like when I work with coaches now on their marketing or storytelling, like, and like, you're not coaching in your marketing. That's the worst place you can coach is in your marketing. Like, yes, by all means, you're giving value and insights, but that people aren't in a place where they're ready to receive. So a lot of times I say to people, you're speaking to people who are about to fill in their onboarding form. You're not speaking to people who have been working with you for 8 weeks, because they are fundamentally different people. You know, the journey that person's been on, even within 8 weeks of working with you, all the check-ins they've had, all the resources they've had, all the experiences and progress they've had, means they are ready for different messages than the people who are about to become a customer or a client for the first time. And that applies across the board to every single industry. I think, like, because you are the expert and you've got all the experience, that you often say, like, yeah, I know you think you need this, but you actually need this. I'm like, yeah, but see, right now they need that. They need that first thing. They need you to speak to that particular pain point or that challenge or that insight or that scenario. And then that stuff comes like further down the line. Like, good example of my own business, like I was always very resistant to put out any kind of frameworks or templates. I was not because of like any kind of like snobbishness. I was always just like, no, do you know what? I want to try to teach people how to like come up with ideas on their own and how to perfect like the skill of writing and things like that, and really kind of become a copywriter for their own business. But people need templates and frameworks. That gets them started. It kind of goes to the whole kind of meal plan argument in fitness and things. You know, sometimes like people just need those kind of frameworks and guardrails to get them started, and then they feel in a place where they're ready to then
evolve.
Because so many people that have came through, say like buying my frameworks or my templates, have then signed up to a coaching or a workshop with me because they are now like, right, I've got this quick win, but I want to know more about this. And a lot of people haven't, because they're just quite happy with whatever it is they've got. And that, again, your products naturally act as a filter, don't they? They qualify people. So I always say, like, there's like that ascension. You know, you've got like a lower ticket product that's a bit of a no-brainer price and gives people a quick win. If people get that quick win and they want more of that, they will move up the ladder, spend more money and more time, more energy with you. The people that don't will just remain at that bottom rung of the ladder because that's where they want to be, and that they're quite happy. So that's even more of a reason to get products out there so people can start that process of being like, okay, let me give you 20 quid and see what you're all about. Okay, right, well, that was worth it. Okay, well, I'm going to go book this workshop for X amount, and I'm going to do this coaching for X amount. So that's another reason why you just need to get people out there so they can invest, to get products out there, so people can invest in them and see what you're all about.
Yeah. So marketing is so fascinating, isn't it? Because we all start... Like, you started with, like, I'll be writing emails for other people, and then you go, can't write the email if the offer's crap. It's like, the offer's crap because the business model doesn't work as well. So you end up finding marketing becomes like this. It's very hard to not jump all in on the business growth with the client that you end up having on board, because you can see how that creativity, like, you can see your brain sparking. It's like, well, the email can be a much greater success if we do X, Y, and Z, and it's trying to bridge a gap of communicating that. So we started with social media posts, and I was like, why are people posting? It's like, oh, because they want more leads. It's like, well, how do we bridge that gap? Well, it doesn't make sense if you've not got like a funnel, or you've not got like a way to get them onto your email list, or a way to get them into. It's like, oh, maybe do the system part for them as well. And it's like, it's like, where do you draw the line? Have you found this?
Yeah, I think that's the difficult part, isn't it? Is like, a lot of times when you're in marketing, like the way we are, in terms of like, you're really because marketing's a massive area, isn't it? All different types of marketing. But I think when you're really directly tied to somebody's bottom line, that's when you really start to look at different things and being like, I think this is broke. And then the more clients you work with, the more experience you have. Like, I've taken experience from working on other client campaigns to new clients, and it's worked really well. But I think like where I draw the line is when it starts to come to anything to do with hiring or investing in anything else that's outside of my realms of expertise. So I'll be able to advise people on like the customer journeys that are required and what assets are required there. I'm not a social media expert by any means, but I'm able to obviously like give people like direction on like storytelling and say like, okay, well, this is promoting a workshop or a wait list or a lead magnet. So here's the ManyChat flow you want to put people through. Because again, direct response marketing in particular is founded in consumer psychology. That's what you're really so like you can apply that across the board. But I've had clients come to me and say, look, we're looking to hire this team member, do you want to take a look at them? No, absolutely not, sorry. No, because it's not I can't evaluate people. I don't know, I've never had to do that before, so I'm not going to bring, and it's sometimes a good sign because they maybe trust your judgment or your experience. But I think I would always draw the line there. And then sometimes I've had clients ask me to get involved in like super data heavy stuff, and again, that's not my wheelhouse. And natural instinct is to say yes because you want to help people out, and a lot of times it will affect me at some point because if they're doing something to do with data, they'll probably be turning that into research that I'll then be reading. But yeah, I think now I'm almost 6 years into this now, so I know where to draw the line. But it's very, very difficult, especially when you know that if I fix that, the stuff that we actually do is going to perform better. But do you actually really know how to fix that? And like, how much time is that going to take? And then is that going to draw your attention away from what really matters? So it's hard. It's very hard.
So also email, such a super powerful strategy for all businesses. Not all businesses are doing it. So let's kind of strip this back a few layers. Everyone's got their customer data. And surprisingly, we've been working with some new businesses that have got that old school pen and paper, and it's like, right, let's get this on a system of some sort first. How are you going about, what would you say if you had to build an email list from scratch? This will depend on the business and that, of course, but how would you approach that? Like, what would be your strategy in building an email list?
So you're building from scratch and you've got a customer database, then I would put all of them onto the email list, whatever email platform you want to use. Put them all on there. And then just send an email out to them to get them engaged first and make it very clear, like, look, we're starting an email marketing platform. Hit this button if you want to unsubscribe. You've worked with us before. We'd really like it if you stuck around. Here's what you can expect from us. That's the kind of vibe that you would put out first of all. Very conversational.
Yeah, it's funny that your head goes there because I think a lot of people would like, right, I've got emails, let me get them all on a list and I'll just hit them with the first email for the first time with a sale. And it's like,
that's insane.
No, like,
do not do that.
Nurturing is so important.
It's so important. And again, so maybe take some time to actually think about like, okay, well, what am I going to be, I would actually encourage you to have your first kind of block of emails planned so you can use that as a bit of a tease, so like over the next week, you're going to find out and then like get some kind of curiosity driven kind of titles for your emails in there. What I learned from losing my fiance's engagement ring in New York. Like,
I was going to ask you this one because I love that.
I'll come back to that. So like have that as almost like the appeal, and then also make sure they realise like you've worked with us before. We really value you. Again, just make them feel good. Again, like this is going to sound really obvious, but like again, don't just chuck a bunch of emails in there and then try to get more money out of them, and then in terms of like growing your email list, I would then come up with some lead magnets. The old approach used to be like have like a hero lead magnet. That used to work.
I was going to say, like, how's that evolving? Like
massively,
magnets?
Yeah, because I think like, so I've got 4 or 5 lead magnets now. They're very, because the thing is they're easy to put together. You can try, because all lead magnets used to be PDFs. Yeah. That was the only thing you used to get was a PDF. But like I've got a lead magnet that is literally like a Google Doc of like my recommended books, like my reading list. I've got a lead magnet that is another Google Doc that shows you how to improve your emails. I've got one that's a case study video. So again, you're testing out different mediums to see what applies. And again, try to make them, I always say, like, try to make it focused on solving a problem. That's what lead. It's not information. It's like, this is how you solve this problem in your business or in your fitness or whatever your market is. So create problem solving, because your customers have more than one problem. So every problem you run into, that's a lead magnet idea, and think of the best way, the best medium in order to solve that problem, because some are better solved on a kind of longer form video, aren't they, to really walk somebody through something. Some things are better just like a Google Doc or a PDF that's like kind of copy and paste, walk somebody through something. And then you would just promote them on your socials, set up a ManyChat. ManyChat's like £10 a month, just get a keyword funnel in there. And then that means that you've got variety. And variety is more for you than it is for your audience, because I know, like, if you've got one lead magnet, you're going to get bored of promoting it, and subconsciously you're not going to do it. You're going to be like, I've already said that twice this week, I don't want to say it again. Whereas if you've got a suite of lead magnets, you can cycle through them, and it also helps like framing your content, So like if I put up like a post and say it's more like on Sundays, I'd like to just do more of a pure storytelling carousel. It's not getting to do with marketing or anything like that. It's just an insight or something I want to share. My reading list is probably a better option for that lead magnet, because people, it just fits in better with that. Yeah. Whereas like if I'm doing a post on email marketing, then, you're probably better getting my 5 instant email upgrades doc. That's going to fit in there. If I'm talking about client results, or more overall kind of marketing and launches, my case study is probably a better fit in there. So, it just helps with that. It actually helps kind of filter your marketing a lot more and makes you come up with better ideas. And then it's a case. And another good thing to do, if you've got partners in similar industries who have email lists that are active and are willing to do a promotion for you for your lead magnet. That's one of the fastest ways to grow and one of the best ways to grow, because the people you get coming over on your email list will be super qualified and super engaged. So all you would do then is reach out to the partner, whoever it is. You would write the email promoting their lead magnet. You put your lead magnet to their list, and then they send it to their list, and then you've got all these people coming over.
What's an example of like some collaborations?
So we're doing one on Sunday with David and Colin, actually, because I run both there.
Okay.
So Colin's got a lead magnet. It's like 20 lessons from his 335 podcasts or something. So we're sending out an email to the MTN list, and it'll be David writing saying, look, you know Colin, I've been on his podcast. He's got an incredible lead magnet. He's distilled 20 lessons down into, and then you just link off to the landing page, and then people come from a super engaged email list with like 40% plus opens onto that, and I wouldn't be surprised if we got a really good chunk of subscribers on there. So I just think it's a case of just reaching out and just doing like partnerships and collabs, and because if people are already on an email list and opening emails and reading them, they're more likely to come over and do the same for you. Because obviously, as you know, like organic reach can be kind of like up and down. You don't really know. You've just got to maintain like quality standards with your content. Some posts can take off, some posts might not. So I think like you should always be doing that anyway. That's your kind of lifeblood, your minimum standard. But little things like that, like collabs here and there, are always going to give you a really nice like surge. Like I've seen like 300, 400, 500 subscribers come over sometimes from promotions.
Have you done much on paid ads?
I've done paid ad. Like I've written the copy, I've done the funnels off the back of them. I've never ran ads myself. That's something we're doing. We're learning right now, and we're launching in 2026 for our own business. But I've never actually like ran paid ads, but I've been involved in every kind of paid ad like funnel. From like running tickets for events, like low ticket funnels, like $7 tickets for online events, to like $97 tickets for in-person ones, to $10,000 masterminds. I've done the whole kind of gambit of ads, but it's mainly just been writing the copy and then writing the sequences off the back of the copy and writing like retargeting ad copy and all that.
So I guess it's the same way when you're attracting new business. You get your cold outreach, you get collaboration, paid ads, organic. It's the same sort of principles in building an email list. When an email list is built, then engagement is one part of it. You've mentioned a couple of times about that welcome series and that. What makes a good welcome series in your eyes?
An exceptional experience. Again, so like one I always say, like example I always give is, have you ever been to McDonald's before and you order 9 chicken nuggets, but you've got 10 in the box?
Oh yeah, that's a good day.
See that reaction right there? I hadn't even finished the sentence yet. I hadn't even finished the sentence yet. And you
exactly. She's got chicken nugget cravings.
No, you're going after this. Straight on the breeze. So I think you try to give people that 10th chicken nugget experience. So say you're promoting a lead magnet, say for you guys, it's, filming setups for social media. In that welcome email, you give them a mini masterclass, which is a 10-minute video. They're not expecting that. You've not mentioned it. It's a bonus. It's an added extra. And they're like, oh, they're already over-delivering for me. The other key element of it is get your story across after, say, the second or third email. Nobody wants to hear your story in the first email, right? They're only interested in themselves. Once you give them that 10th chicken nugget experience, and then once you've given them some sort of further insight and value, then you can tease the setup of your story. And again, the medium's up to you. For you, actually, off the top of my head, I think it would be better to have an email that that tells some of the story, and then link away to a video that gives the full story. So you see how it's just always applying it the best way for you and your brand and how you go about business. The other good thing that any welcome series does is get a reply, encourage replies. On the technical side of things, it improves your deliverability. It basically tells the inbox, like we're friends, we're not spam, we're not robots. But also can start some really, really powerful conversations. Like I've seen those reply-focused emails lead to sales for high-ticket products, low-ticket products, again, because it's like a very intimate platform. And replying to an email in the customer's mind, it's like they're almost talking to somebody they know. Because that that's that kind of experience for them. So that's another thing it does. And it's just like be like entertaining as well. Again, that all ties into that like exceptional experience part of it. Really, really stand out in that regard. So that's the kind of like the building blocks of it.
How long, on average, would you say a welcome onboarding.
So
I've heard of some crazy ones, like over a year of like this welcome series that have just been like, or 6 months nurturing process. And I'm like, wow, like I was thinking over the next week and then that was it. It's like your brain's always expanding with different things, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I've written some email sequences that are a year long, but it's more like once or twice a month, and it's more like mainly like customer testimonials, you know, and it's more for like
evergreen
warmish leads that need that reinforcement. But yeah, I'd say anywhere from like, you know, 3 up to like 10 emails. Yeah, that's the kind of sweet spot, I would say. I think if you're a business owner, you're probably going to be closer to the 3 if you're writing your own copy, you know, because it's a lot to write like a 10 email. I mean, I can knock out a 10 email welcome series, no bother, but this is my full-time job. I wouldn't, you know, it's a big ask for somebody else. So yeah, as long as I wouldn't get tied to a number. I would just get tied to that experience and be like, have I said everything I want to say here? Have I had the impact? Have I got across, you know, our mission, our values, our principles? Have I got? And also, like, one point I missed out there, and I don't know why, because I say this all the time, is ask for a sale. Ask for a, you know.
I heard you say that a lot. Like every email, like you're not afraid to, on every email, having a sale pitch on it.
I say on every single email that we send, Or, and here's the thing is, it's good rule is like, I think I learned this from a guy called Daniel Throssell. It's like, it's a 95-5 rule. So 95% of the time it's a soft sell. It's not like, so it's literally like a call to action towards the end of the email, or it's baked into the email where it's almost kind of like very, very subtle. You know, it's almost like somebody will like, fancy another drink? Like, you know, it's just that, it's not like, have a drink, you know, it's not that kind of vibe. 5% of the time, that's your launches, and more like you're being upfront and being like, yeah, do you know what, I'm selling to you every day this week because we've got a group program launch or we've got a promotion on. So yeah, I think it acts as a kind of built-in quality control as well. Because if you've got like, if you're selling every email, you better make sure it's a good email. You better make sure it's insightful and entertaining and tells a story and gives somebody a little bit of an aha moment, or maybe shifts a belief, you know, because you know yourself, because you should know, if all I'm doing is selling these emails, people are going to stop opening them. If all I'm doing is asking them for money. So yeah, there's obviously the way you do it is important, but yeah, by all means, like selling every single email, like that is a part of building trust. Somebody gives you money and you fulfill your promise to them. Like, sometimes people are really, really scared of selling in this regard, and they get trapped in that kind of value cycle of like, I'm just going to give value. The best value you can give somebody is value for money.
Your service, yeah.
I
remember hearing this on I was looking at a breakdown of a funnel from, I can't even remember who it was. So he's building it out, and he basically said to the lead magnet, he was like, also have an option where they can just buy your service then, even though they're opting into the lead magnet. It's very similar to what you're saying. It's like, well, if you're interested in this lead magnet, there's a good chance you're going to be interested in the thing that I can do for a paid service. For those of you that aren't interested, here's the offer for you. And he was saying that he was getting like 5%, 10% conversion of that traffic that came through opting in for the lead magnet. You can get sales anyway. So you're leaving opportunities like on the table with it, which is fascinating. I
think it's just, you've got to change your mindset towards selling, you know? I mean, I don't know about you. I love buying stuff. I bought this jumper yesterday. I was so over the moon. Right?
Black Friday, I went on hundreds of technology stuff. I was like, give me that, give me that.
It's great buying stuff, you know, especially when you know that you're getting good stuff, you know, like you knew the stuff you were buying was going to help you. So like, don't think of it as like people are doing you a favour. Like, some people come into your world and they want to buy from you right away. Because you don't know, like, again, the moment they enter your email list isn't necessarily the moment they've entered your world. Maybe they've been following you for a while. You don't keep track of every single follower you have. Like, I don't have a big following. I've got like just over like 2,000 followers. Like, I don't know anybody that follows me. I don't know when they choose to join my email list or follow a call to action to sign up for things. So like, yeah, they could have been following you for months, and then they join your email list and you've got them on the most intimate platform, and you give them a call to action, like, yep, bye, because I've saved your posts, I've liked your posts, I've watched your videos, I've seen you on podcasts, I'm ready to go. Don't miss out. No, nobody's going to phone the police if you ask for a sale in an email, right? Nobody's going to cancel you or anything like that. It's like, and also it actually just puts it in their mind as well. So even the people that aren't ready to buy, they now know what you have to offer, you know, as well. And that can plant a seed. And especially when they're in a welcome sequence, you know, they get it in the first email, a little call to action to buy something, and they get it in all the subsequent emails. And also, on more on the data side of things, the last point is, your welcome email will have the highest open rate of any email you ever write.
There's a question I had. What's like base metrics then you would look for like across? This will vary in campaigns and all that, of course. But what sort of numbers are you sort of looking
the general
at?
kind of industry standard is like if you've got an open rate over say 20-25%, that's good going.
Okay.
Obviously, it depends on your list size and stuff like that. You know, if you've got a list that's got your mum and your gran on it, then you'll get 100% open rate. Right? Nice email, son. So yeah, 20-25%. But really, like for personal brands and things like that, say like you should up your standard to maybe like 35-40%. You know, like that's what that's kind of stretch goal. That's what I aim for.
What's unsubscribers telling you as a copywriter when you're on someone's list? Like, what are you seeing that as good data to get back, or does it change anything in terms of the strategy if you see like an influx of unsubscribes and all that?
I just put one on our list, track them down, burn their house down. No.
I get personal. We get personal. I was like,
how dare you?
They fucking use my service. I know they're interested in this, but it's so hard to like take the emotion of it.
It's JJ. I know. I've got obviously differently because I've ran so many lists before. I just always think like if everything on that email is like bang on and they've unsubscribed. Yeah, it's just it's not for them. I've also people unsubscribed that are still customers. Like you just never know. Like people are, and honestly, sometimes like I've had people reach out and be like, I'm not getting to me and to clients as well, being like, why am I not getting your emails? I've not got your emails in ages, and then I go and I look the date and I'm like, yeah, you unsubscribed in June. I'm like, then I go, no, I didn't. So you just don't know. There's all sorts of weird stuff going on. People download like inbox clearing apps, and people do all sorts of stuff. It's nothing personal. I think like as long as everything in that email is on brand for you, then happy, and people are opting out for. And by the way, like I say, it might just be for practical. It could be for whatever reason. Obviously, sometimes you get some like replies from people that are like unhinged, and you're just like, oh man,
get for the bad day.
It's an email. Come on, relax.
The Friday night replies.
What's your personal inbox like? Is it full of a lot of marketing stuff for like research? Or are you quite regimented and you don't want to see anybody else's marketing and stuff like that?
That's a good question. I think I've got like so like you would look at my inbox and think it's unorganised because there's probably like 35,000 emails in there or something like that.
Right? I can't do that. I need my emails cleared.
No, I don't care.
I have a random 2 a.m. session where I'm like, I'm going to start marking all these ones that I've read them because I need to have this. I need to have this cleared.
That doesn't bother me at all. But what I do have is like I've got my folders on Gmail, so I've got all the lists I subscribe to that I read regularly. But yeah, I'm very selective over what I read. I think I've got way more selective in the past year. I think you start to kind of, as you progress in your career, you start to get way more selective over who you're listening to because you realise, and you also have developed your own kind of approach and standards and and skills. So, and you realise how important inputs are. So if I'm reading emails from 17 different copywriters, that's not going to help me or my clients or anybody. I'll read emails from a couple that I've always read and that are very, very good. But yeah, most of the emails that I read regularly aren't anything to do with copy. They're actually more to do with psychology and storytelling, which is obviously still to do with marketing, but it's not like a copywriter's email list. Yeah, I'm way, way, way more so. And the more I kind of dug into copywriting and the more I started to follow like the real players, the guys that are doing some insane stuff, like far away from all the online business stuff that we know of, none of them read copywriting books.
No.
They read maybe 2 or 3 classics or 2 or 3 ones that you can spot across them, and then like what the guy that I've looked up to for a long time, I've read all his stuff, like I'm kind of working my way through his reading list right now. Every single one has got nothing to do with copywriting. It's like one of the books is on like a con man from the Wild West. One of the books is on like cold reading by these kind of psychics. Like, and it's like, yeah, you're getting into the weeds and finding out weird shit because the weird shit is how you stand out and how you find these new angles. So like, it's interesting to see that how like they're so protective of their inputs. And I'm like, that's one thing I should probably model because everybody goes through that stage though, don't they? I remember going through that stage of signing up to every copywriting course and you're on every email list and reading every book. And you're just like, and you realise this doesn't help me at all. I'm not getting anywhere with this stuff.
I feel like it ends up overwhelming you and not you then. For me, I remember losing a spark of creativity to make content for coaching because I was following a bunch of coaches and I'm like, I think weirdly, deeply like in my mind, it was like, well, they've already made those types of posts and that's actually hindering me from making that post. And that's not the mindset to have around it. But I was like, I need to stop viewing. I need to actually stop consuming social content because it's stopping me from creating social content.
Absolutely.
So I think emails that's probably an example where that could be happening as well.
Absolutely. Because I think like for a lot of people, your kind of creativity for any medium, whether it's copywriting, email marketing, any of that is often like buried under all your inputs. So if you take them away, you'll probably find you release that a little bit more. You've got to have a little bit more faith in your creativity, and because like people say, oh, I'm not creative because I can't draw a picture or something. I was crap at art in school. I'm like, that's not creativity.
Wow.
It's like taking your ideas and putting them into a medium that then reaches more people. That's all it is, and you might be great at like getting on camera and speaking, and all the kind of softer skills, all those kind of hard skills can be learned. You can learn how to use fucking Canva or like Instagram edits or CapCut. You can go on YouTube and learn that, and enough in 20, 30 minutes. I know I'm talking to two editors here, right? So I'm not saying you get it at your standards, but for a coach that's getting started, you can certainly go on and learn the basics and do. That's what I did. I've learned the basics that way. So yeah, I think like a lot of times the creativity is just buried under that, and you just need to get rid of it all and maybe just go on a bit of a kind of a purge of all these different inputs. Maybe unfollow certain people, stop saving their posts and things like that. And I mean, if you're following me, don't do that to me. Keep following me. But
It's distractions, isn't it? I love a good podcast in the morning, but there's some times where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to put pause on this because ideas are coming in my head just now. I was like, this is very rare. Like, not that it's rare that it happens, but it's like I'm also in a very creative mode, or I've got these ideas and thought processes on what should we be doing with X, Y, and Z within our business or the memory room or whatever it may be. But I think it's very easy to go, but I play a podcast every morning. Let me just play a podcast. Silence is such a powerful tool to like see where your thoughts go. And I think we are too distracted sometimes.
100%. One thing I do when I go to walk is like I will listen to maybe like a podcast or something. A lot of times I've listened to a podcast I've listened to before though. And within 15, 20 minutes I've paused it. And then again, because that's what gets my ideas going, and there's nothing better for ideas, I think, than motion. Like you literally just like being out a walk, being in the fresh air, it really starts to get your brain ticking over. So, and then I'm in my voice memos app, just brain dumping ideas, and then I come back and I get the transcript and I tidy it up, and then I've got a bunch of ideas for client campaigns or my own campaigns and things. And I think it's one of those things like
just keep scratching in the background.
It's that saying, like, when opportunity knocks, have your shoes on. It's the same with ideas, like capture the ideas when they come to you. You won't remember them, so don't tell yourself that lie. Being like, oh yeah, you're 17 minutes into a podcast, oh, that's an idea for a post or a campaign. I'll get that when I get back to the house. That idea's gone into the ether. So
I normally do when I'm training, which is weird because I listen to podcasts when I lift weights and when I run. Running's more acceptable, but I think people think I'm a psycho when I'm lifting weights and getting into the zone to lift heavy weights, and I'm trying to play a podcast to the speaker, and Jill's like, what are you doing?
I need like heavy metal to listen to.
But I find that my mind wanders, and then I'm thinking about everything else. I've not been listening to this for the last half an hour, and like pause and go back. So there's obviously other like things, or there's other aspects of emails still we could dive into. I do want to touch on the storytelling, but I guess the last bit with emails, I think you've mentioned segments and all that, and I think that's it's something that's easily overlooked, that you'll have. I think of our email list, which is poorly managed. I would say we've had people sign up through an ad that we ran maybe over a year ago, and it's why we've got their contact information. We get people who came on through lead magnets recently. We get people who've just worked with us. What's like core segments, or how do you split audiences up before like mass emailing them?
Yeah, so I think fundamentally just looking at the behaviours that people have taken. So. And you can really get in the weeds with this stuff, and sometimes you can over-segment your list, right? But so if you think about the path that they've came through, so how have they signed up to your email list, that can give you a little bit of an insight into the people within that segment. So if somebody signed up to my email list through my recommended reading list for books and things like that, I can make certain assumptions about that person, like, okay, maybe they're interested in like reading more, personal development. That's maybe an angle I can take with a campaign with those people. In terms of once they're actually on your email list, you can start looking at, okay, well, who's opened, who hasn't opened. So who's opened, every email for the past 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks. You can decide the time frame yourself. That's a super engaged segment there that's clearly paying attention to what you have to say. So then you can say, okay, well, these people are interested in what we're saying. Can we make them an offer? Can we ask for a reply from them to find out more about them and what they've got going on, how we can help them perhaps, do a bit of market research, but do it a bit more kind of like organically. It might not be like, you could create a type form and send it out to them if you wanted to. You could just ask for a reply. Also, if you've got like a promotion going on, who's clicked but hasn't bought? That's a big one. They've clicked through to the landing page, but they've not purchased yet. Okay, well, what you can imply there is they've got some objections that you need to handle, you know, so you can get a campaign out to them that's specific about objection handling. So yeah, I think it's really just like, it's easy to get very overcomplicated with segments. Really, I just strip it back to the basics of like opens and clicks. You know, who hasn't opened in a long time, who's not opened in only 4 weeks. They're probably starting to lapse.
Okay.
Can you get a little three email campaign out to them to bring them back into your world? And then, you know, if they don't re-engage with that campaign, probably just take them off the list because they're not interested anymore. So just get them off the list, and that improves your deliverability for people on the list because you're not sending it to people who aren't opening. So yeah, that's how I kind of approach segments. It's purely based on like behaviours.
Back to that curiosity part in your early hospitality days when you kind of break down the basics of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you know, just looking at people and just going, okay, well, what have you done to get here? Like how you hear, like, for example, I've got a segment of people that have downloaded every single lead magnet that I have. You know, it's like, well, you're really interested in what I'm doing, so like,
why are you not signing up?
Why you know, and it could, and the thing is, it could be I've not created a product for them yet, or I've not framed the product in the right way for them. But if they get a direct campaign speaking like in the right way to them, then they're going to convert. You know, so you've got all this like data. And by the way, I'm not like a technical person, so this isn't like a technical job. Like your email service provider will do all this for you. Like all the data is in there, and if you do get kind of a bit overwhelmed, there's a YouTube video for it. Somewhere it's dead easy to figure out. You know, whatever platform you use, whether it's ActiveCampaign or whatever, there'll be a way to find these people because they all do differ slightly in terms of the conditions they use. But yeah, it's dead easy to find out, and it's super powerful. Also, like wait lists. Sorry, what last one? Wait list. You know, who signed up for a wait list for a program launch? Email those people specifically about the program and build hype and interest and overcome objections before you open the cart, so that when you do open the cart, you've answered all their questions and they just go and click back. Yeah.
Waitlist was one I looked over, and we were thinking lead magnets and everything, but we've got a waiting list for the memory room that we're building traction towards next Monday. This Monday?
Yeah, Monday.
Yeah, this Monday coming. And again, that's people showing interest, and that's like a red hot lead almost, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So like if people are on that list, you're just emailing them, almost just like doing a mixture of objection handling and then projecting the future of like, give them a feel of like what's going to be like when you're in the memory room and you've got these assets, and you know that's the kind of feeling you're trying to get across. So that alone builds excitement and makes them far more likely to actually like convert, because you've always got to remember, again, from the customer point of view, they're just on an email. They're just on an email list. Yeah. You know, it's like one of those things where like it's two things can be true at once. Like, yeah, it's the biggest asset you've got. It's great you got a wait list. It's also just a wait list.
Aye.
Nobody walks around going, I'm on the memory room wait list.
I'm
on the 12-week peak wait list. Nobody really thinks that way. So
the business owner does though.
The business owner does.
It's the only person that
Nothing's more important to you than your own business and all the kind of different stats and things you've got going on. All these people have lives and careers and responsibilities, and they might have even signed up and just in like, you know, a doom scroll one night and went, and they'd be like, oh, what's that? What was that? Oh, what's that? Oh, I forgot all about that. That's why the nurturing part's important, to remind people why they're here, what they've got going on, and get them bought in. It's not just a case of, well, here's a wait list, I'm launching a program in 4 weeks, see you in 4 weeks. Good luck with that strategy. You know, that's going to get you no sales.
What to sign up for.
Yeah.
Have you got like a framework you use for the storytelling aspect, or do you feel it's just a skill that you always develop? Because we know it's more, podcasting is a great way of like talking and getting your words out, because you listen to it back and you're like, oh, I thought I said that way better than I did, and maybe I need to tweak these words or change how I say this sentence or ask these questions. Is that the same with storytelling? Like, it's just a skill that gets better with time. What's a framework that you, or do you have a framework that you sort of loosely use?
Yeah, it's so interesting about podcasting, because I've always done a lot of kind of like, I've always really enjoyed public speaking. I've always done like public speaking at school and readings at, you know, family ceremonies and all that, speeches and stuff. The first time I heard myself on a podcast, I was like, and I thought I was a very articulate person, and like, it's so, when you see it back, you're like, oh my God. You know, it's always like seeing yourself on camera for the first time when you're like playing sports or something like that. You think you're an absolute ticket, and then and like, something's wrong with that camera. Something's wrong with that camera. Like, I was flying down the wing there. And
it's the first time you record a setback as well.
You're like,
what? I thought that looked way better. I thought I was going to ask the grass on that squat.
I know, and you're cutting it so high. I know, it's brutal. But in terms of storytelling, I think there's now, I suppose, for me, I've now just got like principles, and like, being perfectly honest, I've got a feel for it now and a knack for it. But like, I think like one thing I always encourage people to do is like drop people into a scenario. at the opening of your story, because you're just dropping them straight into the action. I often say it's like almost like at the start of all James Bond films. All James Bond films started with an action sequence, just drops you straight in, people shooting and diving and ducking and car chases and chaos, and you're just like fully bought in, you know. But don't think you have to, the first word that you write has to do that. It's like the good Ed Sheeran analogy is like, he always talks about the tap, and it's like you turn the tap on in the house you've not been in a while, and it's brown water, brown water, brown water, and then it's clear water. So write, and you probably write guff for first 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines, but then you will reach a line and you'll instinctively know, like, that's the scenario I was trying to get to. Delete everything above that, and you've started your... So don't censor yourself. It's important just to get the words out. Yeah. It's like the post we were talking about earlier about, like, you know, me and Jill with the engagement ring. Like, I could. How
did you start that? It was like, this is how my fiance was naked in New York or something.
Yeah,
because I read that, I was like, huh, what? And then I was like, I'm invested in the story. Like,
I was like, so this is how my fiance ended up naked in Fifth Avenue in November. Now I could have been like, back in 2022, me and Jill went to New York on a dream holiday.
Yeah, it's like,
nobody. You're reading that?
Yeah,
you're like, bye.
Oh, cool,
see
nice.
you later. Cancel him in the podcast. That's right. But yeah, so you're just trying to find that kind of moment of, like, either like tension or action. For example, when I'm telling the story about our first night in Malia, when I lost all my mates. Well, I didn't lose all my mates. They all ran away because they were steaming. I was a sober one. We were in the middle of Zigzag, the nightclub. I didn't start it on, like, the plane to Malia, or when we arrived at the hotel, or when we were in our rooms. It was literally like, I spun my head round in the middle of the dance floor in Zigzag. My mates were nowhere to be found. Straight away, you're like, well, where are they? What happened? Where's Zigzag? What's good? Again, you know, you've got that engagement, but it's not through like a cheesy clickbait thing. Yeah. You're just dropping people into the action of the story. And I think that's the easiest part. Sorry, that's the most important part, because starting's the hardest part, isn't it? You know, you're kind of writing, deleting things. So that's something I always try to do, is just drop people into the action. And then, like, when you're telling the story, you're always just trying to get across, like, the emotions, you know, what was going through your head, like, let people into your, like, internal dialogue, because that's where your rawest and truest and most, like, insane feelings come from. And you say some wild shit to yourself, don't you? And you know, some of the conversation, let people in on that a little bit. So that's how I try to, like, approach storytelling and encourage other people to, like, approach to think about it as well. And, like, I suppose the final thing is, like, strategically withhold some information, because you
angle it.
You know where the story ends. It's your story. For example, I always tell a story about when I was a PT. I was going to, this was supposed to be my first retainer client. It didn't turn out that way for reasons you're about to see. I just done it. Just done it without realising it. And I remember I walked in his office. We were about going to sign a deal and everything, and he looked up from his desk and he went, "I've just had £15,000 stolen from my business account." And I was like, oh, I didn't know what to do. Now, I could have used that at the beginning of the email or the story or anything like that, but I didn't. I withheld that information. I gave enough away, but I didn't say anything about him losing money. Sometimes a lot of times we think about those things, oh, that's a really juicy hook, let's get that up there. And to be honest with you, sometimes in certain mediums and platforms, that's appropriate, right? Yeah. But seeing a longer form, like email and things, or like a carousel post, it's actually better to withhold that information. Even like I did with the engagement ring story about Jill, I didn't tell you what was really going on until 6 or 7 slides in, like what actually happened with the engagement ring and how we ended up in that situation. But you were hooked and you were engaged and you were into the story. So I think sometimes if you know you've got a really juicy, like, twist or anything like that, and again, you know this instinctively because you've read books, you've watched TV shows, like, everybody loves a twist. Yeah. Loves it. And that, all a twist is strategically withholding certain information. Who the killer is, or what's going on, or what's went on off screen.
Just pulling from that.
Yeah. You're just pulling from that, you know. So I think I realised, like, I'm a big fan of, like, film, and obviously now a big reader for the past few years, and I think, like, that's the kind of ultimate form of storytelling in a lot of ways. We get people to sit in their arse and watch a film for 2.5 hours and love it and praise it. There's so much that you can take from that, because a lot of times when I explain things or share tips on storytelling or coach people on storytelling, they'll often be like, you can see that, and you're like, you've experienced this before when you've watched your favourite show, or, you know, watched your favourite film. Like, you know what's going on. A lot of the references I make are to films and TV, because people understand that instinctively, because they've experienced that feeling, and then you realise, like, you can give people the same feeling. So, yeah.
It all ties back to experiences, doesn't it? And
massively.
I think it's just, like, pulling on that, because that's human emotion and connection. And it's the fascinating thing about psychology and
Yeah.
and all that.
Massively.
Do you
So-
find it hard? Sorry, I was going to say, do you find it hard, like starting off with that storytelling bit and then getting, like, how do you start with that, putting them into action and then getting them to the call to action or the sale?
yeah.
Like, how do you get from your on New York with your naked fiance to how am I selling this to a customer? Like, how do you get from that there to there?
Just very quickly, my fiance wasn't naked on Fifth Avenue, right? I'm just going to make that clear because she is going to listen to this. The reason I said she was naked was because we had to hand her engagement ring back in to get resized, so she felt naked. I'm sure every woman can relate to that. If you've not got your engagement ring on, you feel naked. So anyway, yeah. So,
Sorry, we should have said that.
So how do you get to that? So really, there's like two ways you can do it, and most people will go with this way. Most people will understand the lesson that they want to share or the insight, the call to action, and then you've got to work backwards from there to find the story. That's the easiest way to do it because you know, it's almost like, you know, if you're trying to plan your year for 2026, start with your end goal, you work backwards. It's the same principle. You start with the end goal of this is a lesson I want to share. So now I need to work backwards to find a story that fits in with the same kind of lesson or insight or vibe or emotions. So yeah, that's genuinely how people tend to go about it. Sometimes you can do it the other way. Sometimes you're like, do you know what? I've got a really incredible story to share here that I know people are going to be engaged with. But what did I learn from it? You know, and that way works great. The one thing you have to be careful there is sometimes you can wedge a lesson in with doing it that way, and it's a bit like
forced.
That's a bit forced, a bit of a leap, and people have a real instinct for when that's the case. Like they really understand. Like LinkedIn's the worst place for it. You know, this is what it taught me about B2B sales.
Stuff like,
you know,
thank you for your purchase.
Like
I've seen like, and then it gets people to open the email, but then it's got nothing to do. It's like, oh, got you. Like anyway, here's what we're doing. It's like
fake calendar invites and all that. Yeah. But even like a feed post on LinkedIn, I seen a guy. He was talking about a girl that his daughter was in a car crash, and then he was like, "Here's what it taught me about
Jill had
about B2B
what was
sales."
That one you seen? What was the one the other day? He was at his mum's funeral.
Yeah,
and they took a picture at front and turned it into a LinkedIn post about
this is how what taught in business, and I'm like, there's a time and place. Like this is not.
That's horrific.
I hate LinkedIn for that. Like I used to, like when I worked in the corporate space, like LinkedIn was actually like good and I enjoyed it, and then I don't know if it's since I became like business owner, I'm like, this is icky. I don't like it. Like
it's cringe.
You didn't learn that from like I went to see Taylor Swift as well, and the amount of posts that they were like, Taylor Swift taught me this about business. I'm like, no, she never. Like, come on, like just go to a concert and have fun.
Exactly.
Like, just don't...
See, that's the shit you want to avoid. You know, and that's why I often I'll tell people to encourage them to tell like more like personal stories from their own like experiences. One place to look is like your formative experiences in life, because to go back to like how you make that connection, a lot of the easiest kind of stories to tell are the ones that your formative experiences, because the lessons are very apparent there. So your formative experiences, the easiest place to look is all your firsts: first job, first love, first heartbreak, you know, first big breakthrough in life. When was the first time you looked in your bank account and thought, oh, wow, right, okay, I'm doing all right? You know, all these little firsts are, you know, first rejection. All these firsts are formative experiences, and you can pull lessons from it and give your own personal take on those lessons, because there's an element of a universal lesson in these, but then there's also your personal experience as well through the story. So that's why it makes it such a powerful story. So that's how you can start with, like, that's how you can often... Okay, here's the insight. Okay, let me have a think back through my own experience. What closely relates to this insight or lesson that I'm trying to share? And look, it's like almost, it's no doubt, you build a muscle for it. You know, it's just like starting that first time. It may be a little bit of frustration, which is fine, because like you've just got that kind of almost kind of creative constipation in a way. You're just like, right, how do I make this connection here? But after you've got a few times, you'll find that you make the connections easier. And like we were saying earlier, when you're out a walk or ideas come to you, you'll just be like, oh, that's it. Yeah,
it just clicks.
It's almost kind of just feeding your subconscious source material, and then you start to make those connections. But it definitely does take a little bit of work. I think obviously it helps to just kind of reflect on your own personal experiences and the stories that you want to share. Like just list them out, you know, and just be like, okay, what did I learn from that? It's actually just a fun exercise to do, because you'll find self-awareness and breakthroughs, you know. And I've got stories I can pull upon like at the drop of a hat, you know, throughout my life. And I think like when you've got that, it's a real asset for your business as well, because you start to know what stories to slot in where, you know, and if we make it specific about email marketing, like, you know, the stories that are going to, okay, well, this is the best story for my welcome series. This is a good story for this launch, because the lessons mirror what we're going to be talking about during the program and things like that. So I think building up your own story bank is such a valuable exercise for business owners. But yeah, really the things that you're looking to connect with are, again, like those like similar like emotions and lessons and like and insights as well. You know, I think like the lesson I shared from like the engagement ring story, long story short, the people in the store thought we were Irish. They just heard our accents, thought we were Irish, and sent the ring to Ireland. You know, so now Jill's engagement rings in Ireland is some random warehouse. And then I'll say, okay, well, the lesson from that is, you know, you really shouldn't make assumptions about your market. You should probably be doing more research and reading into it more. So you see how but that felt I didn't feel like that's a bit of a reach, you know, have you wedged that in there, you know, square peg, round hole. So yeah, it is a skill that you practice, but I would always start more so with it's probably going to find it easier to start with the lesson or the insight and work backwards towards some kind of story than you are doing the other way around. But both ways work.
There's we could probably sit and talk for another couple of hours here. It sounds like David's came in. He's in right after you just now, but I think we definitely need to do a part 2 on like more specifics into the lessons that if you'd
love to. I'd love to. Yeah, absolutely.
There's tons to dive into, even like the AI tools and how different strategies. Yeah. You've got well, your opinion was pretty strong in the sense of copywriters ignoring it and then some copywriters just using it, and then you kind of stayed in between. So like it's a powerful tool to thought provoke and get into that. So just like all of that to like dive into for sure. What's I guess the final thing we'll kind of wrap up on is what's sort of happening next in your life with the copywriting and business, and also you're a dad now as well. Is that's changed then your whole outlook, you were saying in a previous podcast?
Oh, yeah, massively. Yeah, it's obviously your world just becomes so much smaller and more sacred. You know, it's your 4 walls that matter, and that's it. And that's the way it should be. You know, nothing kind of just clarifies your life and your direction, your goals more than when that wee girl or wee boy just comes into the world. You know, I just remember when being in the room when my daughter was born, I remember looking at her, and then I remember afterwards just being like, that has to be what heroin feels like for the first time. That has to be it. Like the literal like rush, and I felt, and like the tingling from head to toe was, I was just like, I remember the doctor talking to me and I was just like, mate, whatever.
I don't know what you're saying.
You couldn't even say something important. But I was just like, shut up. Like, just let me look at my daughter. So yeah, I think that clarifies a lot of things in your life, and you certainly filter every single decision through that, you know. It's one of those things where, like, do you know what, I love talking about fatherhood and how incredible being a parent is, and I always keep it that way because, like, one, I believe it's true. Also, you get a lot of "just you wait" patter, which is just honking, and you should ignore it. You should ignore it, and see people that say things to you like, "Oh, do you know you're not going to get enough sleep?" You'd be like, "Really?"
It's so funny.
Really? That's the first time I've ever heard of a parent not having enough sleep. Like, save it.
It also highlights how shitty some people's relationships are as well.
I know.
I'm just like, well, why are you choosing to be there if you get that much hatred towards like your partners?
It's mental, mate. Like,
I just love the story you told on John's podcast when you said you were at a pub, and the guy's like, "Oh, is that your bird?" And you were like, "No, it's my fiance." And then he's like, "Well, when you get married, it's all over." And he's like, and you were like, "No, actually, like this is like I'm actually really excited to get married and all that sort of stuff." And it was the auto response, I think, was the tying it back. But again, that was a powerful story that you told, and I think it highlights that. But to me, that connected because like we are 13 years into a relationship, and I hear some guys and just talking about relationships and all, and I'm like, well, why are you choosing to be there? Like that's just because that's your life doesn't mean it's going to be mine.
You're so right. I think that's one. I don't want to keep too long, but like that's one thing like that I'm massive on. Like, don't go a lot. That I firmly believe. I'm very anal about that. Like, I do believe like if you go along with that patter, just to be like one of the boys, or just go along with, and it doesn't have to be like even just guy to guy. Like you know, women will have the equivalent, and they're like, I will never ever in a million years say a bad word about my wife because I don't have a bad word to say about her because she's my wife. You know what I mean? And I will never go along with that nonsense. Like, and I don't care if, again, this probably helps because of like, again, Jill always points this out. She's just like, do you ever feel uncomfortable in conversations? And I'm just like, no, I don't. Part of me, this is probably a weakness, feels a little bit, I actually quite enjoy the fact you're uncomfortable right now because this is your fault. I didn't make this uncomfortable because that guy was kind of shifting, like a guy, I was in the rugby club and he's like, that your bird? I was like, no, it's my fiance. And he was kind of like, oh fuck, right, okay. Right? I just think like, if you go along with that stuff, it bleeds into you. You start to believe it a little bit, you know. So that's why, like, when I talk about being a dad and being a parent, there's been nothing better in my life. It's been absolutely phenomenal. But recently I've actually stopped talking about specifics in front of people who are about to be parents as well, because I want you to experience it for yourself. Because there's so many beautiful moments. There's moments with my daughter, I could rhyme off 15 that even if I think about them now, they get such a strong, incredible emotional response from me. And I think revealing them to parents to be, it's almost like when somebody says there's a really big twist at the end of this TV episode, you're like, well, I know you've not told me what the twist is, but I know there's a twist coming now. So I don't get into specifics as much. But yeah, that whole auto response thing is like a kind of a bit of a principle of mine. I just never ever, because I mean, I went back to play rugby after like taking like 18 months off when Hazen was born, and people are like, oh, you fed up with the missus? I'm like, no, there's literally nobody I would rather hang about with than my wife. I actually rather hang about with her than you, to be honest with you right now.
People that have said to Daly's like, because they've asked us like how we're going to work together and stuff like that with a baby, and then like people are like, oh, Dale, you'll be escaping trying to get to work to get away from like Gillian and the kid, and he's like, why would you say that? We've chose to have a kid. Like, it's like you'll be trying to get out and do this. He's like, no, I won't. He's like, I don't even like going out. Like, leave me alone.
Like, I will break the speed limit to get home because like, I work from home with wife and daughter. They're like there's nowhere I want to be. I always try to put it back on them as well. Like, again, when people say that, like a lot of good boys say to me at rugby, like, oh, are you glad to be back? I always make the point, like, I want to be there more than I want to hang about with you, mate. You realise that?
I love that you just say it.
Right? I don't want to hang about with you. I want to hang about with my wife, my daughter, so forget it. And they're always kind of like, don't really know how to take it. I'm just like, give yourself a peace, man.
Brilliant. Brilliant. But look here, this has been fantastic.
Thank you.
David will be out there chomping the bit and all, like his calendar.
Mr. Impatience, man.
So yeah, thank you very much for coming on. We're going to leave a link in the show notes and everything where people can find you and whatnot. So probably getting on your email list is where to have it.
That'd be good. Yeah,
you've got different ways to sign up to your email list, don't you? So if
you just go onto my Instagram profile and then you just click the link in my bio, you'll get the options to sign up. Yeah,
cool. Right, well, thanks again for your time. Sure, we'll definitely have a part 2.
Yeah, look forward to it, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you.